They're focusing on you. You on the no-fly list?
What is that?
The cameras. Haven't been close enough yet.
Okay. Ready? Colin, you ready? Evan? Christine? Seeing the hour is 7 o'clock, I call a Wednesday, September 27th, Planning Board meeting to order. For the record, we are being recorded and televised by Chelmsford Telemedia. Anyone else in the audience that is taping or recording this meeting, please step forward and state your name. Thank you. First item on the agenda is 104 Turnpike Road. We have some letters. First letter I received, I'm going to read first. Has a question regarding the agenda as published. Letters from Christine Bowman. It was addressed to myself, Ken LaFave, who is Board of Selectmen, and it was carbon copied to Brian Latina, Maria Carafella, Sandy Martinez, Stonegate Board of Trustees, and Evan Belansky. Subject, Planning Board Agenda Revision 926. Hi, George and Ken. I want to bring to your attention that although the original public meeting agenda notice for September 27th meeting was issued on Monday, September 25th in the early afternoon, satisfying the 48-hour window, it does not contain a copy of traffic study for 104 Turnpike Road project. Please see attached files for the original Planning Board agenda, site walk, and revised Planning Board agenda for September 27th meeting. The revised public meeting agenda notice was made available early this afternoon on September 26th with the traffic study, but availability of the traffic study does not meet the 48-hour time frame for a public meeting notice, especially since the Planning Board made it clear that the traffic study would be discussed in depth at the next Planning Board meeting, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, September 27th. And the traffic study was already available to the Planning Board, as several members said they either read it or were in the process of reading it at September 13th Planning Board meeting. However, this traffic study was not made available to the public in advance of September 13th Planning Board meeting and currently does not satisfy the 48-hour time frame for public meeting notice. Since the topic of the 200 Turnpike project is withdrawn and the site walk canceled for the second time, the only topic listed for September 27th meeting is 104 Turnpike Road project. Allowing the September 27th meeting to take place without proper availability of the traffic study is a disservice to the public. The public should have no less than the lawful time to review, understand, and identify potential problems with this traffic study. Otherwise, the public is denied its opportunity to actively participate in the process and compromises their ability to provide Planning Board with constructive input. Therefore, September 27th meeting should be postponed. Thank you in advance for your thoughtful consideration of this request. Regards, Chris Bowman, Precinct 4 Representative. So with that letter, I submitted it to Town Council because it's saying that there was an improper posting. And I have a letter from Town Council, and it reads as follows. You have asked us to review the posted agenda for Chelmsford Planning Board for its hearing scheduled for September 27, 2017. Specifically, you have asked us to review an email inquiry from the resident Chris Bowman that questioned whether the board may have a discussion of traffic issues for 104 Turnpike Road project when a link to the traffic study for the project was not included in the agenda. It is our opinion that the failure to include the link to traffic study does not prevent the board from discussing traffic issues during its hearing. According to the information you provided me, the board's hearing is a continuation from a previous session of public hearing, in which the board specifically stated it will consider traffic issues at the next hearing. The original agenda posted September 25th, 2017 states that the hearing is for 104 Turnpike Road for the construction of a 168-unit multifamily development contained within 4 structures and associated site improvements. The agenda goes on to note that the various forms of special permit relief required for the project and then contains a link to various permitting materials submitted by the applicant, including the application/cover letter, an existing conditions plan, a site plan, architectural plans, and HydroCAD link. The original agenda did not include a link to the traffic study submitted by the applicant. A revised agenda was posted on September 26, which included a link to the traffic study. Noting within either agenda purported to limit the scope of the board's discussion to the materials linked on the agenda, you have informed me that the links are provided simply as a matter of convenience to the public so that they would not need to search the board's website to find such links. Pursuant to GLC 39, Section 20, notice for public hearing must be posted at least 48 hours before a public meeting and shall contain the date, time, and place of such meeting and listing of topics that the chair reasonably anticipates will be discussed at the meeting. Decisions of the Office of the Attorney General make it clear that a topic is sufficiently specified when a reasonable member of the public could read the topic and understand the anticipated nature of the public's body's discussion. OML 2017-92. The board's agenda clearly notes the location of the project, the nature of the relief sought by the applicant. A reasonable person reviewing the agenda could anticipate any issues of concern relating to the proposal, including traffic impacts, could be discussed at the meeting. It would be unreasonably restrictive to require a board to list every possible impact for a proposal that would be discussed at a meeting on its agenda. It is sufficient to describe the project and the nature of the relief requested. The inclusion of the links to relevant documents done solely for the purpose of the convenience of the interested parties does not limit the scope of the board's discussion regarding the project. It is our opinion the original agenda posted by the board complies with the open meeting law, and that the failure to include a link to the traffic study is not a violation of the open meeting law. If you have any questions regarding this correspondence, please feel free to contact me, Paul J. Haverty. So, in regards to the email that was received, this body received a traffic study at the last meeting, not prior to the last meeting. So we did not have an opportunity to look at it. That's number one. Number two, we never used to put links on our agendas. We do it simply as a convenience to the public. If it becomes an issue, then we can easily remove them, and you go back to the old system was either to call the community development office, ask for the documents, and they'll provide it. We do this trying to be open and transparent. It is a new system for us. A year ago, we did not do this. We are starting, we're trying to be more effective by being online, having it available to the public. So all you have to do is click on it. You don't have to call a community development office, and it's there for the public to look at. So we're trying hard, and I think we've done quite well, but I'm gonna mention to the board and new business that we'll bring this up again and discuss this either now or in the future, because I'm not gonna go through this and have this anxiety put on me as chairman that we're doing something wrong. So, Ed, you want to state your Mullen statement?
Okay, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but as per Massachusetts law, I have reviewed the video tape of the meeting, and I have filed what is commonly referred to as the Mullen statement. It's been duly recorded by the town clerk.
And I have it received, it'll be in the file.
Which means I can participate in the discussion and vote. That's what that means.
You want to read these two letters?
Okay, let me get these two down the way. Okay. I'll read the shorter one first. September 25th, 2017. Town of Chelmsford Planning Board. This is a letter in support of 104 Turnpike. On September 19, 2017, the Chelmsford Economic Development Committee reviewed and discussed the proposed multifamily development project at 104 Turnpike Road. By unanimous vote, the CEDC concurs that the 104 Turnpike Road development is consistent with Chapter 4 Economic Development and Chapter 6 Housing of the current Chelmsford Master Plan and the recently adopted 129 Business Amenities Overlay District zoning. The CEDC believes economic development balances quality of life issues and a strategy to attract and retain high-quality, well-paying employment in our community. The development of housing at 104 Turnpike Road creates a twofold opportunity. It provides housing, would encourage connectivity to the 129 business corridor, and heightens the interest of amenities to locate in the BAD zoning area to create a dynamic live, work, and play environment. Please accept this letter on behalf of the CEDC as an avid endorsement of the 104 Turnpike Road Multifamily Development Project. Respectfully submitted, Donald Van Dyne, Chairman, CEDC. Okay. This is from Jeffrey Gomes to Evan Belansky. Dear Mr. Belansky, as an abutter to the above reference project, I have attended the developers meeting, SAR board, a few months ago, as well as the open planning board meeting a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Zaharoulis stated that he believes the project will be too dense, among other concerns. Can you please also forward this email to Mr. Zaharoulis if my guess at his email address is not correct, as I do not have it? Okay. Comment 1. I want to mention that in this first meeting with the developer, the site engineer, Katie Enright from Howard Stein Hudson, it stated that the project does not trigger any environmental review after I asked the question to her. Traffic engineer is my profession, and I review traffic impact and access studies every week. I have determined that the project does indeed trigger MEPA transportation thresholds under 301 CMR 11.03 Section 6, Part 14, copied below. Generation of 1,000 or more new average daily traffic, abbreviation ADT, on roadways providing access to a single location and construction of 150 or more new parking spaces in a single location. In a TIAS, it is stated that the project will generate 1,118 new vehicle trips and 352 parking spaces over the 1,000 trips and 150 parking spaces threshold. It also triggers Part 15 being 352 parking spaces over the 300 new parking space threshold. New paragraph. That being said, I would like to review the environmental notification form, which is required to be sent to the secretary and any correspondence that results. Comment 2. HSH has omitted comparing the HSH has omitted comparing the crash rate to the statewide average, which is required in every TIAS. Comment 3. The signalized intersection at Turnpike, Billerica Road, Golden Cove Road in the AM peak hour is operating at a level of service E under those conditions. Level of service F under no build conditions is an even worse F under build conditions, yet the proponent states it is negligible impact and proposes no mitigation for this. Asking everyone to wait an average of 10 more seconds at the signal in the AM commuter time is asking a lot. Golden Cove Road in the AM peak already spills back through to 110 on a regular basis. Comment 4. Under the site distance study, it was stated that the proposed site driveway appears to have sufficient SSD for a vehicle to safely stop. This will need to be reevaluated if the project moves forward after the driveway base is built up. Thank you. I don't know. I want to read that. I think that's just a regulation. Or does that belong to you? I don't know. We're trying to figure out a page that doesn't seem to
I think
fit.
this is referencing the CMR that's in here. It's referencing, yeah, this is, this here is a copy of the 301 CMR 11.03 that's referenced in the letter.
Yep.
That we don't need to read.
Oh, okay.
So the next letter we have is from Christine E. Bowman, Precinct 4 representative. There's no address on it. There really should be an address. It's 18 pages long, so bear with us. Dear Planning Board members, we're gonna split this up, and we're all gonna take some turns. Dear Planning Board members, the Planning Board meeting agenda for September 13th, 2017 includes updated information and documents regarding 104 Turnpike Road project, but continuing problems with this project persist as it does not conform to zoning requirements for 129 overlay district and the CEIOD for residential multifamily housing. Please refer to the attached revised summary table for 104 Turnpike Road project, attachment A, reflecting the August site plan. Please see below information based upon town zoning bylaws and the project specifications including the inclusionary housing bylaw attachment B, which shows the major bounds of the project are properly set at 36 units, the same number with non-compliance of a priority conditions of density bonus 0% to up to 44 units with a finding of compliance to an a priority conditions of the density bonus 20%, a building height of no greater than 35 feet with a number of stories no greater than 3 stories. Project should be denied in its entirety. It breaches multiple aspects of town zoning bylaws, density requirements, and planning board regulations. Project is at 168 units with 1 2-story and 2 4-story. Max height is at 51 feet 10 inches, and 1 5-story max height is 63 feet 2 inches. Buildings, revised site plan sheet dated August 18, 2017, is contrary for 1, choosing requirements for a commercial district and applying it to a residential non-commercial multifamily district. 2, exceeding the total zone density requirements 36 units and possible total qualifying zone density requirements 44 units. And 3, exceeding maximum height of 35 feet, maximum number of stories 3 stories, and other dimensional requirements per the zoning bylaws. I originally wrote to you concerning problems with 104 Turnpike project in in July of 2017, as the project does not conform to Route 129 Business Amenities Overlay District, the BAOD, and Community Enhancement Overlay District, CIOD, for residential multifamily housing. I included summary tables comparing the zoning dimensions to the project specifications of both 104 Turnpike Road and 152 Turnpike Road projects. At that time, I requested a hold be put on these projects until such time as the projects conform to the zoning requirements for the Route 129 BAOD and the CIOD and non-commercial multifamily housing. Although a written response was not forthcoming from the planning board, and the project is proceeding without a hold, planning board concerns are expressed in the meetings. It is my understanding that the planning board has not yet granted any special permit approval for this project. If you have given some sort of approval for this project, then please reconsider. Before considering taking a vote on 104 Turnpike Road project, please consider the following, which includes evaluating the project to the town's inclusionary zoning bylaw. So why don't you read the results? Why don't you read the results, and when you get to the decision part,
Okay.
we'll hand it off again.
Project review, results. A, Planning Board is the special permit granting authority for the 104 Turnpike Road multifamily project. As stated in the town's website, as the special permit granting authority, the Planning Board is responsible for ensuring that a project conforms to the zoning requirements under MGL Chapter 40A and the town's zoning bylaws. It is imperative for the special permit granting authority to verify that a project specifications conform to the zoning requirements, including proper density for the given area prior to a public hearing. B, zoning requirements for residential RM in the Route 129 BAOD of the CEIOD are set forth in 195 Attachment 1 Use Regulations and 195 Attachment 2 Dimensional Requirements. C, it is imperative for the special permit granting authority to verify a project's proper compliance to the zoning dimensional requirements prior to setting a public hearing for the project. See the revised summary table showing a 1 to 5 story building at a maximum height of 63 feet 2 inches for the most recent project site plan, dated August 18th, 2017, contrary to the zoning requirements. The other 3 buildings consist of 1 to 2 story and 2 2-story and 2 4-story buildings, maximum height at 51 feet 10 inches, where the 4-story buildings are also contrary to the zoning requirements. Prior modified letter of intent, May 2017, specifies 1 2-story building and 3 4-story buildings. The text of the August 16th, 2017 letter does not identify the change in the elevation to 63 feet 2 inches, or that 1 4-story building is now a 5-story building. The project uses 195 Attachment 1 use regulations for IA and 195 Attachment 2 dimensional requirements for IA and/or 195 Attachment 3 CEIOD dimensional standards for commercial districts for IA. D, density bonus under the town's inclusionary housing bylaw, Article 23, see below. 1, is not mandatory. 2, is at the a priori conditional discretion of the planning board as the special permit granting authority. And 3, has an upper limit. Thus, a density bonus is discretionary, not mandatory, must first satisfy the a priori conditions, and then is possible up to 20% of a project's properly zoned total units, and can only be considered after 25% set aside for affordable housing units on proper zoning of project units per 195, 134, and 195, 137 of Article 23. It is imperative for the special permit granting authority to verify a project's properly zoned total units prior to considering a density bonus. The zoning requirements for density are only found in the town's housing production plan. See Chelmsford 2017, January Hpp, page 28, and it gives a link here. The proper density for the two distinct zoning areas of the Route 129 BAOD requires incorporation into the zoning bylaw, 1, commercial area IA, and 2, multifamily housing RM area, a commercial exclusion zone per MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, special permits for zoning density. G, the Route 129 BAOD is a mix of commercial area, IA, and residential multifamily housing, RM, in a non-commercial commercial exclusion zone. The only town document map for the Route 129 BAOD is in the HPP, page 30. The BAOD intends Billerica Road, aka Route 129, as the IA area of the overlay district, and residential roads, Turnpike Road and Mill Road, as the non-commercial RM area of the overlay district. Because this mix encompasses significantly different parameters, the density for each requires definitive qualification. Route 129 BAOD RM is not in a commercial district and requires specifying as a non-commercial residential multifamily density area at 2 to 4 units per acre. Both the HPP, page 28, and Route 129 BAOD zoning bylaw require revisions to reflect this per MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, special permits. Currently, both the IA and RM areas of the Route 129 BAOD are improperly assigned together as Route 129 BAOD in a high-density commercial district. H, the proper zoned total density for this project is at about 9 acres is 36 total units. The proper density bonus on the total project units ranged from 1 up to 8 units after conforming to the a priori conditional requirements. The project does not qualify. Total qualifying zone density for this project plus a conditional density bonus after a finding of conforming to a priori conditions ranges from 37 up to 44 units. The proper height and number of stories for this project in the RM Route 129 BAOD is no greater than 35 feet and no greater than 3 stories. Project is not factually accurate or complete as per planning board site plan and special permit regulations and procedures. L, this project should be denied in its entirety. Shall I keep going?
Where'd you stop?
Discussion.
Start here.
Okay. Discussion, special permits. As you know, project reviews for special permits are required under MGL Chapter 40A and the town zoning bylaws, which is reflected in the planning board's responsibilities on the town website. The planning board is the special permit granting authority in the town, except where specified for the Board of Appeals by the town zoning use regulations 195 attachment A, attachment 1, and in parenthesis attachment C. Zoning dimensional requirements are specified in the town's zoning dimensional requirements 195 attachment 2. Apparently, there's an attachment D to this letter. This is consistent with MGL 40A. There is also a separate document for the commercial districts within the CEIOD. CEIOD Dimensional Standards 195, Attachment 3. See Attachment E. The use regulations show that the special permits for multifamily housing, RM in parentheses, require approval of the planning board, and that the multifamily housing is not permitted in the IA, and that the dimensional requirements set the zoning specifications of a project. The revised summary table shows that this project does not conform to the zoning specifications. Zoning Article 21, Community Enhancement and Investment Overlay District, otherwise known as CEIOD, requires conformity to the dimensional requirements except to MGL Chapter 40A, Part 6. Existing structures, uses, permits, certain subdivision plans, application of chapter, stating 95-9, conformity required, reduction of dimensional requirements. Okay, finished there. Where?
Just read this paragraph.
Oh, you'll pick it up there. Okay. No structure shall be erected or used, premises used, or lot changed in size or shape, except in conformity with the requirements of this article, unless exempted by this chapter or by statute, CMGL 40A, Part 6, underline added. And for residential uses, the CIOD zoning at 195-113 states, within the CEIOD overlay, multifamily residential units are permitted except in the IA zoning district. Multifamily residential units may be allowed in a separate building or in combination with commercial uses by the planning board where the project is in keeping with the district and surrounding neighborhood and otherwise in compliance with this article. Underlines added. Okay. Right there.
Considering inclusionary housing bylaw. The inclusionary housing bylaw, Article 23, Section 195-138E, see Item 2 below, for a priority condition specifies up to 20% density bonus on the total number of units permitted in a project at the a priori conditional discretion of the planning board as the SPGA. Thus, density bonus is not mandatory and can only be considered following a finding of conformance to the conditions of exceptional design and/or public benefits. The type of structures permitted is determined by the zoning requirements in 195 Attachment 2 dimensional requirements. Thus, it is imperative to verify the project properly conforms to zoning requirements prior to even evaluating conditions for or considering a density bonus. But before considering a density bonus to increase the developer's full rate units, the project is required to set aside 25% of the proper zone project units for low and moderate income units. Provision for affordable units. Article 23, Inclusionary Housing Bylaw, Section 195, 134, 195, 137 requires a 25% set aside for proper zone project units for low and moderate income housing before any consideration of density bonus to increase the developer's full rate units can be made. Applicable projects are stated in 195-134 applicability. This section shall apply to all projects proposed within the Article 21 Community Enhancement Overlay District and Article 22 Village Center Overlay District and the Residential Multifamily RM District, which involve 4 dwelling units or more. Planning board shall, as a condition of approval via majority vote, if any such development require that the applicant provide affordable housing pursuant to this bylaw and more fully described in 195-137 below. 195-137 provision of affordable units states the planning board shall require that any development is applicable per 195-134 for 4 or more dwelling units in a residential mixed-use project shall condition upon at least 25% prior to any consideration of density bonus per 195-138E density bonus of the units subject to this bylaw be restricted as affordable housing units, underlines added. Thus, the inclusionary housing bylaw is applicable to this project as it is in the 129 BAOD commercial exclusion zone for multifamily housing and 25% set aside of the proper zone project units of 36 is 9 units for low and moderate income units. This set aside must be made prior to the planning board considering a density bonus. Refer to density requirements below. Why don't you pick up from density requirements?
Density requirements. Density criteria are only available in the town's housing production plans, HPP. The most recent is Chelmsford 2017 HPP on page 28, citing criteria, and shows for type of housing, single family. The citing criteria is any single family zoning district, 2 family, any residential C district, 2, 3, and 4, any residential C and M multifamily district, low density, any commercial district per the CEIOD, multifamily, 4 to 6 per acre, any commercial district per the CEIOD, medium density, any commercial district per the CEIOD, and multifamily 6 to 10 units per acre, and high density, any commercial district per the CEIOD and Route 129 BAOD, 11 plus units per acre. Since the inclusionary housing bylaw is based on the total permitted units in a project, then density itself should be incorporated into the zoning bylaws in Chapter 195, especially for the inclusionary housing bylaw and the Route 129 BAOD. And density, for purposes of the HPP, can then refer to the appropriate zoning bylaw article. Likewise, a map of the Route 129 BAOD is only found in the HPP, page 30, attachment F, and should be incorporated in the zoning bylaws as well. According to the Massachusetts Zoning Act, MGL 48, Section 9, special permits, next. I'm not going to read Section 9. It's here. Thus, the town's zoning bylaws are contrary to MGL Chapter 48, Section 9, as it does not state the maximum increase in density of population or intensity of use in which may be authorized a special permit. The town bylaws and zoning density show that the project specifications are contrary to these requirements by using the wrong district, using CEIOD IA instead of non-commercial RM, applying and exceeding the dimensional requirements, using improperly high density for a commercial area, and for not properly applying the requirements of the inclusionary housing bylaw. Also, the Chelmsford 2011 HPP Siting Criteria for zoning density, page 100, is more definitive regarding zoning density for commercial districts than the table from the 2017 HPP. Table 6.5 Citing Criteria, single family, any existing single family zoning district, that's detached maximum of 4 units per acre. 2 family attached, detached, or conversion, any RC district proximate to or within a quarter of a mile of Center Village or Vinyl Square. 2, 3, and 4 family attached, detached, or conversion located within a quarter mile of Center Village or Vinyl Square. Low density multifamily, 4 to 6 units per acre, any commercial or industrial zoning district located along a numbered route or proximate to Center Village or Vinyl Square, excluding Drum Hill, Route 129, Chelmsford Street, north of I-495, and along Route 40. Medium density multifamily, 6 to 10 units per acre, any commercial or industrial zoning district located along a numbered route or proximate to Center Village and Vinyl Square, excluding Drum Hill, Route 129, Chelmsford Street, north of I-95 and along Route 40, but limited to only those areas proximate to the Center Village or Vinyl Square or along Route 110. And then high density, 11 plus units per acre, located within IA zoning districts but not directly adjacent to a single family zoning district. You got another page?
Ed's going.
Okay, it is obvious from the more definitive 2011 HPP Siting Criteria for commercial districts that high density is intended for the limited industrial districts, IA, and commercial roads, not residential multifamily housing districts in single-family neighborhoods and along residential roads. The project on Turnpike is the project on Turnpike Road is in an almost single-family homes in neighborhoods and on residential road. It is not a numbered route. It is designated as a non-commercial residential multifamily housing district. Density definitions. For both HPPs, the definitions for low density, medium density, and high density show that these densities are only applicable to commercial districts, not residential districts. With the above citing definitions, even low density is the improper assigned density for the residential roads and neighborhoods of Turnpike Road and Mill Road and other similar areas of town. The low density definition is for commercial districts, not non-commercial residential multifamily districts. And a closer look at the 2017 HPP Siting Criteria definitions show that the proper density for a residential multifamily housing district is 2, 3, or 4 family homes per acre. Using the maximum of up to 4 units per acre, the maximum number of units on 9 acres times 4 per acre is 36 units. The 2017 HPP Siting Criteria is extremely vague and therefore lends itself to obfuscation, confusion, and poor application. This particular project is a prime example of this, where it proposes commercial district high density improperly without any basis, in direct opposition to the residential multifamily district the project is located in, and also uses requirements for a commercial district. The proper zoning density requires correction for definitive application, as well as incorporation into zoning bylaws per MGL 40A Part 9. The July 20, 2017 summary table states Route 129 BAOD, Turnpike Road is commercial exclusion zone, but the project density is not consistent with the RM criteria. Instead, project under high density of 11 units per acre, which translates into a max density 9 acres equals 99 units, not 168. After a more thorough review, the July 20, 2017 Note 1 is incorrect, which states, for consistency with the CEIOD residential multifamily housing RM, the RM siting criteria for Route 129 BAOD is more appropriate, categorized under low-density multifamily housing for 4 to 6 units per acre. As shown above, this is incorrect, is under residential multifamily housing at 2 to 4 units per acre, because the RM in the Route 129 BAOD is in a commercial exclusion zone due to the single-family neighborhoods in the area, and it's along residential travel roads. Therefore, table for type of housing siting criteria in the HAB 2017 Housing Production Plan, page 28, requires revision to reflect the Route 129 BAOD under low-density multifamily for a maximum of 4 to 6 units per acre. As shown, this is incorrect. It is under residential multifamily housing at 2 to 4 units per acre. Thus, for this project at 9 acres, total maximum density is 36 to 54 units for the project. As shown above, this is incorrect. It is under residential multifamily housing at 2 to 4 units per acre, maximum density at 36 units. September 13, 2017, Note 1 is corrected. The assignment of the Route 129 BAOD to high-density siting criteria does not consider the whole scope that this overlay district entails, both residential multifamily housing and commercial activities. The Route 129 BAOD is a mix of commercial zoning IA and residential multifamily RM, where the residential multifamily is specifically in a non-commercial area called commercial exclusion zone. Because of this density, considerations in a commercial zone are significantly different for a residential area, and the siting criteria requires revision to appropriately reflect these differences. The residential commercial exclusion zone comprises the residential roads of Turnpike Road and Mill Road, consisting of well-established single-family home neighborhoods of more than 60 years. Thus, there are significant differences in parameters. The density for each district area requires definitive qualifications. The Route 129 BAOD RM area is a non-commercial district and requires specifying as a residential multifamily district density in HPP, page 28, and particularly requires specifying a Route 129 BAOD zoning bylaw, Article 24.
Applicable project zoning, the developed presentation of the project at the September 13th meeting stated the project is in IA area of Route 129 BAOD, also in letters of intent and site plans. The CIOD regulations apply. It is in keeping with providing workforce housing, a clear reference to 195-143A, see below. One of the business amenities cited and conditioned within the Article 24, Route 129 BAOD, purpose and intent, section 195, 143A and FR. A, address the changing town and regional market conditions specifically desired by employees within the limited industrial zoning district to have local access to goods and services and housing. And F, not to disturb residential neighborhoods or detract from the appearance of the town. Under the 129 BAOD and looking at the map of the BAOD, HPP page 30, the project is clearly located in the RM commercial exclusion zone area of the BAOD, not the IA. The Route 129 BAOD makes clear that the IA area, the workforce housing referenced by the developer for the project is for a commercial district and contradicts the BAOD. We'll have to come back to that one. The high-density project at 19 units per acre, 168 units on 9 acres, is decidedly contrary to the citing criteria for a residential multifamily district, disturbs the residential neighborhoods, residential roads, and detracts from the character of this area of the town, adversely impacting the quality of life of the residents in these neighborhoods. In addition, the project does not conform to Article 21 CIOD provision 195, 118A1, and 118A2 performance standards. A, generally all CEOD projects shall be consistent with the following general performance standards. 1, the project is in harmony with the objectives and intent of the Chelmsford zoning bylaw, and more specifically, the purpose and intent set forth, section 195-109, conformance, underlines added. 2, the project will not negatively impact developed areas in the surrounding area, nor unreasonably impact existing streets, municipal facilities, public utilities, drainage systems, soils, and other natural resources, underline added. This project is not in harmony with the objectives and intent of the Chelmsford zoning bylaws, does not conform to the performance standards and citing criteria of RM within Route 129 BAOD and the CIOD, and does not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood, streets, municipal and utility systems, drainage, soil, and other natural resources. The project should be denied in its entirety. 2, density bonus a priori conditions are per inclusionary zoning bylaw results. A, before considering a density bonus to increase the number of develop full rate units, Article 23, inclusionary housing bylaw, section 195, 134, 195, 137, require a 25% set aside for total project zoned units for low and moderate income families, and on total project units of 36, 25% is 9 units. Planning board may or may not authorize a density bonus to a project and only upon showing exceptional design and/or public benefits that integrate the project into the neighborhood in which it is located. C, because qualifying for a density bonus possesses a priority condition is not mandatory. D, if the authorized by the planning board as a SPGA, a density bonus of up to 20% of the total number of dwelling units permitted in the project. Thus, the density bonus ranges from 0% and cannot exceed 20% of the project's total units that conform to the zoning requirements. E, the proper density of the project is residential multifamily housing for a range of 2 to 4 units per acre on 9 acres for a maximum of 36 total project units. The proper density bonus for the project units range from 1 up to 8 units after conforming to the a priori conditional requirements. G, total zone density for the project plus a qualified conditional density bonus after a fine of non-conforming to a priori conditions ranges from 37 units up to 44 units. Right, discussions.
Discussion. Density bonus conditions. The town's inclusionary zoning bylaw is found in the town charter at Chapter 195 zoning, Article 23, inclusionary housing bylaw. As stated above, the inclusionary housing bylaw requires that applicable projects must provide a 25% set aside for low and moderate income units before considering a density bonus. This project is applicable, which translates into 25% of 36 total project zoned units, resulting in 9 units. Density bonus is addressed in subsection E at 195.38 of this article, Article 23. That's 195.138E, which states, Density bonus. Upon a showing of exceptional design and/or public benefits, the planning board may, by a special permit, authorize a density bonus of up to 20% of the total number of dwelling units permitted in a district, or in a project, excuse me. Fractions of units shall be rounded up to the nearest round number. The affordability requirements of this bylaw do not apply to density bonus units. Underline added. The planning board shall consider factors such as consistency with the Chelmsford Affordable Housing Plan dated December 2011, or other planning documents, unit type, population served, site design amenities, and public benefits that integrate the project into the neighborhood in which it is located. Density bonus units are, as allowed by this section, shall not be applied in addition to density bonus units permitted by other sections of the bylaw. Underline added. As shown above in item 1 under density requirements, the RM area of the 129 BAOD requires a residential multifamily district designation, and applicable revisions to the HPP page 28 Citing Criteria table and Article 24 of the Route 129 BAOD zoning bylaw per MGL Chapter 40A Section 9. The density for residential multifamily housing is at a range of 2 to 4 units per acre. This project is on about 9 acres, resulting in a proper maximum zone density of 36 total units. Density bonuses are not mandatory, are a priori conditional, and have an upper limit of 20% of the proper zone density total units of a project. Thus, a density bonus of 0%
Read up to there.
is a proper application of the inclusionary housing bylaw when the conditions are not satisfied. Otherwise, the density bonus can range from 1% at 1 unit up to 20% of the proper total units of a project, and for this project, that is 8 units. Thus, with a maximum qualifying density bonus to this project's maximum total project zone units could result in 44 units. However, to qualify, the project must clearly show an exceptional design and/or public benefits. This project does not qualify for a density bonus, as it neither provides an exceptional design nor public benefits to warrant a density bonus that increases the developer's full rate units. Architectural.
Okay. New section, architectural design. There is nothing exceptional about the architectural drawings presented for the project, where the most recent architectural drawings are dated August 17, 2017. The drawing at page 717 shows a maximum mean roof height of 51 feet 3 inches for a 4-story representation, where the most recent site plan dimensions give the maximum height at 63 feet 2 inches for a 5-story building. The 5-story building, 2 stories more than allowed, is a significant higher elevation than the May 4th, 2017 modified letter of intent. And the text of the August 16, 2017 letter does not point these facts out. See below item 3, project letters of intent. Those must be attachments. The revised site plan, sheet 1, dated August 17, 2017, shows that one building is 5 stories with maximum height of 63 feet 2 inches at the garage end, and 51 feet 10 inches at the non-garage end. See the revised summary table for the project. This is clearly non-conforming to the RM CIOD dimensional requirements per 195 attachment 2. Also, the architectural drawings are required to depict all elevations and include a color representation under Article 19, Administration and Enforcement, 195-104 E and D, stating, architectural plans shall include all floor plans and architectural elevations of all proposed buildings and a color rendering. The August 2017 drawings include representations for the 2-story and 4-story buildings, but none are provided for the 5-story building, and there is no color rendering. Although the highest elevation submitted is for 4 stories, this architectural drawing in and of itself clearly demonstrates that the structures will dominate the landscape and are overwhelming for the residential areas of Turnpike and Mill Road. As shown above, the 5- and 4-story buildings do not conform to the RM CIOD dimensional requirements of no greater than 35 feet and no greater than 3 stories, and do not integrate into the neighborhood. The architectural design is basic, typical of many multifamily housing projects, with nothing distinguishable to make it exceptional. It is an extruded design.
Public benefits, the project makes no effort to use the appropriate non-commercial dimensional requirements nor proper zoning density requirements for its residential multifamily housing project on Turnpike Road, which is apparent from a thorough evaluation of the zoning requirement attachments. It's clear this project is for the sole benefit of the developer. The developer applies its request for multifamily housing in a non-commercial district to requirements for a commercial district, presents an extruded design that far exceeds the building height requirement, number of stories, as well as other dimensional requirements. Presents no basis for using extremely high density for this residential project. It also exceeds the commercial district high-density zoning citing criteria and is contrary to the town zoning bylaw. In addition, the developer makes no effort to consider the surrounding single-family home neighborhoods and residential travel roads, nor the character of the town for its project. The project is higher in elevation, number of stories, and density than any existing project in town. The project is in direct opposition to the location and applicable zoning requirements. The developer did not present an alternative for condominiums or other ownership possibilities for multifamily housing, only apartments. Town does not require additional full-rate apartments, and especially not in a well-established single-family neighborhoods and not along residential roads. Clearly, this project is for a developer profit and only benefits the developer, not the public. And the public includes the residents who have lived in the town for multiple decades, as well as more recent residents, all who came to Chelmsford for its residential character and quality of life. This project should not receive a density bonus for its increase in full-rate units, as it does not meet the conditional requirements for exceptional design or public benefits. We'll just start there.
Project letter of intent. Result. A, the August 16th, 2017 letter of intent and application is dissimilar to the May 4th, 2017 modification letter of intent for project specifications, requesting relief of the zoning bylaws in a number of areas, and includes significant changes in the height of buildings, number of stories, setbacks, and parking spaces. B, the letters of intent and site plans mischaracterize the applicable zoning district as IA, commercial area, which allows for greater height of buildings, the number of stories, and density, instead of RM, residential multifamily housing, and misuses the zoning density for commercial district high density instead of residential multifamily housing. C, the project misuses the dimensional requirements of the IA for the RM, non-commercial, commercial exclusion zone, in the Route 129 BAOD of the CEIOD. D, the proper zoning requirement for multifamily housing in the Route 129 BAOD of the CEIOD is under RM per the 195 attachment 2 for dimensional requirements. E, the most glaring nonconformances of the revised project specification, August 16, 2017, letter and attachments, to the proper zoning regulations for no greater than 3 stories and no greater than 35 feet are 1. 1 5-story building and 2 4-story buildings exceeding maximum 3-story requirements. 2. A maximum height of 63 feet 2 inches exceeding maximum requirements of 35 feet. 3. Minimum lot depth of 122.3 feet does not satisfy minimum requirements of 150. 4. Minimum side setback at 10 feet does not satisfy minimum requirements of 120 feet. 5. Maximum building coverage of 20% exceeds max requirement of 15%. 6. Not specifying the maximum floor ratio, left blank, previously at 0.59, where the maximum requirement is 0.3. And 7. Parking spaces increased to 325, August site plan, from 284, May site plan, based on improper 168 units, assuming a density bonus is awarded for total qualifying zone units of 44 units. Maximum spaces allowed, using the same ratio of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units from revised site plan, is 85 spaces. Discussion, letters of intent. From the April 6, 2017 letter of intent, This office represents Kinlock Investments LLC regarding a proposed project on 104 Turnpike Road. The development will be in conformance with Article 13 of the Chelmsford bylaws entitled Business Amenities Overlay District, hereinafter the BAOD. The proposal contains multifamily housing, which under the BAOD requires a special permit, subject to Article 23 entitled Inclusionary Zoning, and must also follow the regulations contained in Article 21 entitled Community Enhancement and Investment Overlay District, hereinafter the CEIOD. In conformance with the CEIOD, the proposed development must obtain a determination of applicability from the planning board in conformance with section 195.11, accessory buildings, underlines added. The proposed project is located at 104 Turnpike Road and is approximately 9 acres of undeveloped land located near the intersection of Turnpike Road and Warren Avenue.
Okay. The property is zoned IA, limited industrial, and has been recently included in the Business Amenities Overlay District as specifically targeted for multifamily development. The May 4, 2017 modified letter of intent states, the new proposal remains at 168 of total apartment units and 284 parking spaces. The frontage structure was increased slightly in footprint to allow for 10 units per floor instead of 8 units per floor as previously proposed, and has been reduced to a 2-story building. The latest letter of intent and application is dated August 16, 2017, and requests relief by special permit in a number of areas. This office represents Kinlock LLC regarding the proposed project at 104 Turnpike. The project is to be permitted in conformance with Article 24 of the Chelmsford zoning bylaw entitled Business Amenities Overlay District, hereafter BAOD, and Article 21, Community Enhancement Investment Overlay District, hereinafter CEIOD. Please recall that on May 10, 2017, the Planning Board made a finding of applicability and determined the project eligible to be permitted pursuant to these bylaws. Because the development contains multifamily housing, the BAOD requires it conforms to Article 22, should be Article 23 of the Chelmsford zoning bylaw entitled Inclusionary Zoning. The above referenced bylaws are written to require special permit relief, not only in accordance with the applicable main section of the bylaw, i.e. a special permit for a BAOD/CEIOD development, but also as to specific relief required under each section of the bylaw itself. The required permits are as follows. 1, BAOD/CEIOD special permit pursuant 195-143, 195-111D, Article 21, CEIOD. 2, BEAOD special permit for multifamily housing pursuant to 195-145C, Article 24, Route 129, Business Amenities Overlay District. 3, CEIOD special permit pursuant to 195-114, Table 1, Article 21, Community and CEIOD. And then floor, there's a number of things highlighted. Floor area, stories, height, side yard. 4, CEIOD special permit pursuant to 195-115B, Article 21, CEIOD, for 2 things: parking, number of spaces, parking areas. 5, inclusionary zoning bylaw special permit pursuant to 195-138E, Article 23, inclusionary housing bylaw density bonus. 6, aquifer protection district special permit pursuant to 195-74, Article 14, aquifer protection district. 7, site plan review pursuant to Article, pursuant to 195-114, Article 14, administration and enforcement, special permits. Please, all special permits are subject to 195-103, Article 19, administration and enforcement, special permits. As shown above, this project misapplies the zoning bylaws, density requirements, and inclusionary housing for its stated request for a special permit for residential multifamily housing and commercial exclusion zone of the Route 129 BAOD. The project should be denied in its entirety. 4, this is a new section. Project specifications. Results. The project specifications are still A, non-conforming to the zoning bylaws for the requested residential multifamily project on Route 129 BAOD, non-commercial zone, commercial exclusion zone. B, non-conforming to the inclusionary housing bylaw. C, non-conforming to the density requirements. See revised summary table for a comparison of the May site plan and August site plan project specifications to the proper zoning requirements in 195 attachment 1 and 2, and see density requirements above. Item 1, for the proper application of residential multifamily district density to this project. D, non-conforming to the planning board site plan and special permit regulations and procedures. And E, non-conforming to the residential neighborhoods and residential roads by attempting to establish an LRTA commercial bus route on residential roads of Turnpike and Mill Road for its project. Discussion. Project specifications. See item 1 and 2. Project review and density bonus a priori. Conditions per inclusion zoning bylaw above regarding project zoning density and density bonus.
Is that one all right?
Yeah, I got it all. You pick it up.
Planning Board special permit regulations and procedures in addition to the project is contrary to section 1.2 applicability and 2 submittal requirements of the Planning Board site plan and special permit regulations and procedures. Definition for section 1.2 applicability is any person applying for a site plan approval or special permit under the bylaw, whether not governed by any or other federal, state, local regulations, laws, permits, variance, approvals, or programs, shall comply with the provisions of these regulations. In section 2, submittal requirement states, an application for the approval which lacks information or is incomplete in any manner may be denied or seriously delayed. It is the responsibility of the applicant to ensure the accuracy and completeness of all information submitted to the board. As part of an application, the applicant shall be responsible for factual supporting all points relied upon in the application, including references for methodologies used in design calculations. Applications considered to be incomplete will not be scheduled for a public hearing. Since the developer is responsible for factual accuracy and completeness of all information in its application, the developer significantly does not so conform, as shown above, then the planning board should deny the project in its entirety. Existing LRTA bus route, the current LRTA bus routes are along commercial roads and are numbered roads, Route 4, North Road, Princeton Street, Stebbins Street, half residential, half commercial. Route 110, Littleton Road and Chelmsford Street, Route 129, Billerica Road, Turnpike Road, Mill Road are residential traveled roads and residential neighborhoods, and LRT routes along these roads are unwarranted and unreasonable. The developer's attempt to establish LRT bus route along residential roads of Turnpike Road, Mill Road should be denied. 5, impact of inclusionary housing density bonus on the project will result the impact of the density bonus per the inclusionary housing bylaw included in the proper zoned total density of the project after complying with qualifying conditions and previously setting aside 25% for low and moderate income units, ranges for an additional 1 unit up to 8 units result in a possible maximum total qualifying zone units of 44, not 168. Discussion. See items 1 and 2, project review and density bonus a priori conditions for inclusionary zoning bylaw above regarding project zoning, density requirements, and density bonus. The proper maximum zone density for this residential multifamily district project, about 9 acres of residential road and turnpike, with residential multifamily districts ranging 2 to 4 units per acre per HPP, page 28, resulting in 36 units, and 25% of this set aside for low and moderate income families is 9 units. The conditional granting of a special permit for density bonus per inclusionary housing bylaw is upon a showing of exceptional design or public benefits, the planning board may, by special permit, authorize a density bonus up to 20% of the total number of dwelling units permitted in the project. Project design is not exceptional and does not provide public benefits as shown in the item 2 above. Thus, a density bonus increase to developer's number of full rate units should not be granted. Michael, take us home at the conclusion.
Conclusion. According to the town's zoning bylaws and density siting criteria, the developer's request for a special permit at 104 Turnpike Road for residential multifamily housing in the Route 129 BAOD. 1. Still does not conform to the proper district as the request is for residential multifamily housing and a residential multifamily housing district location, not commercial. 2, still does not conform to the zoning dimensional requirements or the proper density requirements, and in fact, significantly exceeds the requirements in both cases. 3, the properly maximum zoned units on 9 acres along Turnpike Road for a residential multifamily housing district is 36 units, not 168. 4, set aside for 25% low and moderate income families is 9 units. 5, the density bonus is not warranted as the a priori conditions are not met. 6, thus the total properly maximum zoned units for this project is 36 units. 7, the developer attempts to disrupt the residential roads and residential neighborhoods along Turnpike Road and Mill Road with unwarranted LRTA bus routes in these areas, even though the existing LRTA bus routes encompass the commercial area of Route 129 itself. And 8, the developer does not conform to the planning board site plan and special permits regulations and procedures for factual accuracy and completeness of all information. The developer's request for a special permit in the Route 129 BAOD residential multifamily housing district for 168 units with multiple 4-story buildings and 1 5-story building at a maximum height of 63 feet 2 inches severely breaches the zoning bylaws and density requirements. Also, the town zoning bylaws are to specify maximum increase in density criteria applicable to special permits per MGL Chapter 90A, Section 9 special permits. I think that might have been 40A, not 90A, and does not. At this time, the town's density criteria can only be found in the HPP, which is incomplete, inaccurate, and vague, and does not properly include the multifamily housing district, commercial exclusion zone, of the Route 129 BAOD and the residential multifamily housing zoning criteria. Therefore, as the special permit granting authority responsible for ensuring compliance with MGL Chapter 90A, yes, it is 90A, the town's zoning bylaws and density requirements, the PB should deny the project in its entirety. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration of this information. Best regards, Christine E. Bowman, Precinct 4 Rep.
Is the applicant present? You're on.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You'll recall at the last meeting that we had explained that we were going to defer presentation of traffic information and architectural information to this meeting, and that's what we're planning to do, is to present that. But there was also a request from the board at the last meeting that we give you a very quick overview of the drainage for the project. So Katie's going to start off by giving you that overview of the drainage, and then we will move into the traffic presentation, and then finally the architectural presentation. So our understanding at this point, Mr. Chairman, is that we are actually still in the middle of our presentation to the board on the project. So if that's okay, we'd like to move forward with that agenda.
Go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson. Tonight we're going to do drainage first, and then we're going to do traffic, and then we're going to do architecture. Our traffic engineers and our architect is here tonight. At the last hearing, you had asked for kind of a more detailed overview of drainage, so I wanted to give you a little bit of information tonight. I know it's hard to see. The copies that you have before you are our presentation for this evening, and I've passed some out to the audience also. The site drainage plans have been broken up into 2 sheets for grading and drainage. They're basically the front half of the site and the rear half of the site. Involved in every drainage design, we do what's called a pre-development analysis and a post-development analysis. This is also part of our site plan package, and what it does is essentially break up drainage areas that show you where the water flows. So in the existing site condition, there's a certain part of the property that flows off to the north. There's a certain part of the property that flows off towards Turnpike Road. And then there's 3 internal areas, or actually 4 internal areas that flow to low points within the subject site. And that's what we use to compare in post-development. So we're looking at design points outside of the property to make sure that we're not increasing pre to post-development flow. And our post-development subcatchment gets a lot more detailed because essentially we're looking at drainage areas that go to different catch basins throughout the site and then go through the pipes to the storage areas that we're proposing on site. So we did approximately 15 test pits on site. We were out there a couple of different days as the project evolved to make sure we got enough testing in the area that we wanted to put our drainage system. Essentially what we were looking at is making sure we weren't sending more flow to the abutter to the north, making sure we weren't sending more flow to the abutter or Turnpike Road, and then also sending more flow or making sure it didn't leave the site or send more flow out to the bordering vegetated wetland that's at the rear of the subject site. So what we looked at was capturing all of our drainage on site. Most of it is currently, as you saw on that pre-development map, most of it's captured in 2 low areas within the site and then an isolated wet area, which is located kind of towards the middle rear of the site. And what that is that's a locally jurisdictional area. Essentially, it's been excavated over time to basically be into the water table. So there's plants there, but it's not bordering. So it's not a Massachusetts or a state wetland. So it's locally jurisdictional, and we've filed with the Conservation Commission for that. But essentially what it serves is for flood storage for waters that are coming off of this site. So we looked at basically retaining everything within the site because there's very little flow that goes off site now. Our soil testing, which is contained on the grading, drainage, and utility plans all along the left-hand side there, shows the majority of the site is sand, and it showed the water table throughout the site. So that's the 15 test pits we did. All the test pits were witnessed by your town engineer, Christina Papadopoulos, who is here tonight, to make sure that we were all looking at the same thing and essentially have the same water table elevations and the same types of material in the ground. Those elevations and the material that we find specify where the drainage system needs to sit if we were to do infiltration or recharge within the ground. And it also specifies how fast that water is able to leave the site. And all of those are contained within the drainage calculations. So essentially our site is captured, all of the paved areas are captured, the rooftop areas are captured, and some of the grassed areas are captured. They are put into deep sump-putted catch basins, and then the majority of the site goes to an underground infiltration system, which is a storm tech system, which is a system of plastic arches. You see them a lot at construction sites around. Essentially, it's an infiltration practice, which allows to capture a larger volume than a circular pipe, so you can get an additional volume in there than a circular pipe. Those are also fitted with what's called an isolator row, which is a row of the system that's wrapped with geofabric that essentially completes the process of the TSS removal, the total suspended solids, which is 80%, which we're required to have under the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Regulations. So in the report, we go through the 10 steps of documenting the compliance with that. Essentially, what we're looking to prove is that we meet the recharge requirement, that we meet the treatment requirement, and that we're not affecting or we're not increasing our post-development flow over the pre-development flow. And that's all contained within the stormwater report that you have. The system we've decided to, instead of breaking it up into a lot of small systems under the paved area, it made sense to put it in a centralized location in the green area in the middle. So essentially the system is contained in the green space that's between all of the buildings. The system's approximately 6 3/4 feet deep from top to bottom. The arches are 5 feet in height. The water is collected, it goes through the treatment system, it goes into that system and is recharged into the ground. As the water builds up within it, there's a weir that's positioned at the end of the system, which allows the water to outlet at a high elevation out to the isolated wetland to the rear of the site, and that is what we control for pre to post development flow. There are a couple of small areas down by the rear garages that elevation-wise, we're not going to make it into that centralized system. So what we did was we captured those areas and put them through a storm scepter, which is a proprietary treatment device to get the 80% TSS removal before allowing that also out to the isolated wetland that's at the rear of the site. I think that pretty much covers it from a high level. The maps show all of the different areas as we capture them and put them through the system. The pre to post development rates are contained within a chart. We also looked at volumes to make sure that we were, especially in the 100-year storm event, that we were reducing volumes off-site, and that's for flooding purposes to make sure we're not increasing the flooding anywhere. Also contained within that report are our recharge requirements to show that we not only meet the recharge requirement, but that underground pond essentially drains within 72 hours. Because that's what the regulation requires, that it drains within that period of time. It also shows you how each of these best management practices treat the stormwater and why we meet the 80% TSS removal for each of these treatment chains. That is the long and the short of it. I know you wanted a little more detail.
Can
So.
you just go to go back to the original map and just point the area where you have your infiltration area? It's hard to see with these small plans.
Right, so it's entirely within this area here. So it's contained in the common area, underground.
Is the system sufficient enough to handle a 100-year storm?
Yes. And the 100-year storm is contained within the chart here.
So is there any thought of using impervious surface anywhere?
No, there wasn't, not here, not for the pavement areas. So what we've found is certainly, like in Mr. McCrensky's project on North Road, it works fantastic. It's a small site, it's self-contained, and it has a property manager that's very meticulous with cleaning the area. This is a larger site with a lot of pavement, which again will have a management company, but it requires vacuuming of the site.
Right.
And it requires a significant amount of basically making sure that no materials are placed on that salt, sand, other types of items. So it's not really we didn't think it was an appropriate place for that.
Okay. Just quickly, Ann, you have any questions on the drainage? Remember, it's going to go to Christina for a full review.
No, I don't. I trust Christina's review on this.
Henry?
I do understand what you're doing, and
Okay.
I'm good.
Henry?
Real quickly, what's your water table? How far down is it?
Well, it depends where you are throughout the site, but it's
Roughly in the middle.
our system. Yeah, it's about 9-10 feet.
Okay.
So
9-10 feet of sand, plenty.
Mike?
Well, I'm fine, pending review of
Monica?
our pro.
I'm fine.
Ed?
I'm all set.
Tim? Okay.
And
Keep
just Christina's already issued a letter to this board regarding her review of the site, and I have some minor engineering changes that we're making that will be presented in a revised set of materials, which will take care of some of the housekeeping items there. So
We'll circle back to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
Did we read it last week? Did we read your letter last week?
yep.
Okay.
Now I'd like to turn it over to Carrie Pike, who's one of our principals at Howard Stein Hudson, to discuss the traffic analysis that we did for the site.
Traffic or architecture?
Traffic.
Okay.
Good evening. As Katie said, I'm Carrie Pike with Howard Stein Hudson to discuss the traffic briefly for you. So you have copies of the traffic impact and access study that we prepared. That report includes the prescribed elements, so we typically evaluate the existing conditions. We collected traffic count data, we do observations, we collect crash data, and then we forecast the future conditions. So we have the no-build condition, which is what happens without the project. So if there's background growth, you have new folks moving into Chelmsford, new businesses coming, and also other projects that you've already approved in town. And then after that, we add on the project traffic, and that's the build condition with the project. And for all of that, we do traffic operations analysis. We also look at the site access and potential mitigation. So here's our study area. We studied 3 intersections, so you can see the site is kind of in the middle of the map there. And we studied Turnpike Road and Mill Road. I'm starting from the bottom, which is actually the opposite of the bullets. Warren Avenue and Turnpike Road, which is fairly close to the site. And then Billerica Road, Turnpike Road, and Golden Cove Road, that's the northernmost intersection there, as you can see on the map. So we did the traffic analysis for those 3 conditions, existing, no build, and build, as part of the transportation study. As I said, we also looked at crash data. This shows you the crash data for those 3 intersections. We pulled the most recent 5 years, so 2010 to 2014 is the data that's available from Mass DOT. You can see the numbers of collisions And then we also calculate a crash rate for the intersection, which is the number of crashes that occur per million entering vehicles. So it's based on the numbers of crashes in addition to the volume of traffic that's going through the intersection. And then also in this chart, we have compared that to MassDOT District 4's average. So they have two different numbers. One number they calculate is based on signalized intersections, and the other number is for locations that just have stop signs. So Billerica Road, Turnpike Road, and Golden Cove Road has a traffic signal. So that average is 0.73. The crash rate that we calculated is 0.24, so it's well below the district average. For Turnpike Road and Warren Avenue, that intersection is unsignalized. The crash rate there for the district average is 0.56. We had no crashes at that location, so clearly below the district average. Turnpike Road and Mill Road, in the existing condition, as I'm sure you folks are aware, is above, the calculated crash rate is above the MassDOT District 4 average. That's the current condition. And primarily the reason for that is the sight distance there. Is, I'm sure if you've driven through the intersection, you have some challenging geometry with vertical and curves and things like that. So that makes it challenging in terms of people being able to see each other as they're moving through the intersection. So we also looked at site access. So this is the site plan, as you can see here. So Turnpike Road is on the left side. And a few things that I want to mention about this. So all the vehicle access will be through via Turnpike Road. The driveway is located there. And we did look at the site distance for this. So that's similar to the issues that you're having at Turnpike and Mill. We want to make sure that when someone is coming out of the driveway that they can see traffic coming from either direction, so they make sure that they have a safe, can get out safely to turn in either direction. So we did collect some speed data along Turnpike Road and found that the 85th percentile speed is 39 to 40 miles an hour, even though the posted speed limit is 30 miles an hour. So the required sight distance for that, actually at 45 miles an hour, is to be able to see 320 feet in either direction for safety, so that you make sure you have enough of a gap to be able to get out into traffic. So to the left, as you look, you can see pretty much back to Kensington. So it's a well over that 320 feet that's required at 45 miles an hour. To the right, you have a bit of a dip in the road as you look to the right. That dip is about 350 feet. When we measured, it's about 350. So you are over the required sight distance for a 45 mile an hour speed, and we got the 85th percentile. And what that means is that 85% of the traffic is going at or below that speed. So you do have some folks that potentially are going a little faster than that. So at 45, we feel that's, we still have good sight distance for folks to be able to come out. And as we move through the site design, we've talked with Katie about ensuring that you don't have plantings too close to the road on either side of the driveway or anything that's going to block people's vision from being able to see as they come or go. Okay. Want to talk a little bit about, so now the traffic by the development. So we have 168 residential units and 325 parking spaces. In the morning rush hour on a weekday, based on that number of residential units, we're projecting 86 trips coming and going. More of those are exiting than entering because folks are going to work, taking their kids to school, things like that. So 17 entering, 69 exiting. That's approximately 1 to 2 new cars per minute on Turnpike Road in that hour. Now that's the worst case. And the two rush hours are kind of the worst case. So in the afternoon peak hour, we're projecting 68 entering and 36 exiting, as you expect more people potentially coming home from work, things like that in the afternoon rush hour. And again, that works out to about 1 to 2 new cars per minute on Turnpike Road in that hour. Over the rest of the day, the traffic is less than that. So what we do with those then is we project them onto the local roadways in terms of assigning them to where they might be going to then look at the intersections that the 3 intersections. So you can see here the different percentages, and this is actually based on U.S. Census Journey to Work data. So you can see we got about 20% heading north on Golden Cove. You've got 38% there on Mill coming and going. You have 10% in on the east on Billerica Road and 16% roughly on the west side of Bill, heading towards Town Center. And then you have about 9% using Warren and 7% on the west side of Mill. So that's kind of how we take those trips that I showed you on the last slide and basically distribute them among the roadways using these percentages. And when we did that, we found not significant changes to how the intersections are operating today. However, would like to propose some mitigation. Golden Cove, Turnpike, and Billerica Road today has issues, particularly in the rush hour with folks coming and going to the regional highways. We think that you could actually improve this, not just for our traffic, but for everybody traveling through the intersection by changing some of the lane use on Golden Cove. So today, it's a left and a through and a right turn only. If you switch that to make a left turn only, because there is a very high demand of folks turning left, particularly in the morning. And also, it has a very long cycle length. We think you could decrease that. If you do those two things and some retiming, you could actually decrease the average wait times by about 34%. So that's something that it doesn't require a lot of construction, but we would be willing to, participate in that process if that's something the town is interested in. We had also talked about, I think there was a mention earlier of the LRTA potential route. That's something that we don't necessarily feel we need it for the project, but if it's something the town is interested in, we would be willing to participate with that as well. So with that, I think now we're on to architecture.
Stay there. Stay right there.
Yep.
Nan?
The volume distribution map answered my question.
Oh,
Henry?
lovely.
Thank you.
Good.
Mike?
Okay, now, I want to make sure that I've properly understood the traffic report. It sounds like you've got a daily traffic on there of about 3,300 cars.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're adding about 1,000.
That's about right.
1,100, something like that. So while that's not an unmanageable increase, it's a distinct and notable increase. It's not insignificant noise. So I would encourage discussion of mitigation and what you've mentioned there at Golden Cove, seeing as I go through it every morning. That would be much appreciated. But there may be other mitigation that ought to be discussed as well.
Okay. Monica?
On that point, in terms of looking at the existing conditions on page 14 and the proposed conditions after build at Golden Cove, your level of service is an F at Golden Cove to begin with. So you can't get much lower than that. So it looks like we definitely need to address the mitigation there as well. Also, in terms of non-vehicular traffic, if it's to my understanding that this is workforce development housing that's supposed to connect to 129. This is very vehicular based and has no pedestrian connection. I don't see any further update in regards to the proposed trail leading to Alpha Road, which would then increase pedestrian access to 129, and also to the existing number 15 bus stop, which is located just off-site there.
Right.
So again, this just looks like it's more vehicular traffic that can go anywhere rather than supporting pedestrian or bike traffic leading towards 129. And I'd like further explanation.
And this is something we discussed at the first meeting, but we have committed to build a sidewalk along Turnpike Road along our project site frontage. We've moved it out to the project site frontage as requested by the engineering department, which is multiple hundreds of feet of asphalt sidewalk with vertical granite curbing. We're also putting in a handicapped access, crosswalk, a pedestrian and actuated flashing signal at both sides of that crosswalk, and we would be reconstructing the end of the sidewalk on Warren Ave to also include a handicapped accessible ramp on that side, which would allow people to move across our frontage, move within our trails, and gain safe access to a Warren Ave. And I believe you have a police letter and also the engineering letter, which asked us to do that crosswalk, those handicap ramps, and also the flashing beacon, which would be basically a push button for the people who would be looking to cross Turnpike Road. And I actually went out there with Lieutenant Spence to discuss this in detail. We also have shown on the plans, and we continue to show on the plans, a trail that would bring us to an access easement which exists off of Alpha Road. We are planning on sending maps to those abutters. We have recognized those abutters. We've created a detailed map to show them what the connection would look like, and although we do not have legal access to that easement, we'll be requesting pedestrian access to that easement to bring you to the Alpha Road bus stop, and we continue to work on that. Also, as part of that agreement, the Water Department has asked us to try to loop the water, which is also right at the entrance to our project site. As our project site hits that easement, there's a hydrant that's there, which would also loop the water through. So we are continuing to address that with the abutters and ask for those permissions. So that is how we look to gain that. Also, we have provided bike storage on site, which we are looking to facilitate people having their bicycles and being able to get on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail to go to work. So those were all things addressed in the site plan and within some of the comments that we spoke to previously. That will help. So.
Okay,
Yeah, and
that's
if I
great.
can just add, all of those things, if we can make them all happen, we didn't take any credit for, we're sort of, this is the worst case in terms of vehicles. So we didn't take any credit for, if we can make those improvements, particularly the easement that Katie talked about, being able to use that, and then people can potentially walk places instead of needing to use their car. But we didn't take any credit for that in terms of the numbers of trips, if that makes sense. So worst case.
Also, I forgot to mention too that there's been lots of talks of a TMA in this area, and certainly as the density of the area increases with businesses and residents, we would be very happy to be a part of a transportation program that would allow potentially shuttle service to and from either businesses on the 129 corridor and or the Lowell train station. So that is something that we are interested in being a part of when the density allows for that to happen in this area. So that's also something that we can commit to.
Okay, that's fine.
So, good.
I have one more question in regards to Saturday. This isn't just a industrial building we're looking at. We're looking at Saturday usage. What's the level of service on your average Saturday look like?
Generally speaking, we didn't study Saturday specifically. We typically don't for residential uses because the background traffic in general on a Saturday is lower. So we typically don't study a Saturday for a residential use. We would typically study a Saturday if you have more of a kind of recreational uses, shopping uses where, people, like if you're doing a grocery store, then we would typically look at a Saturday or some other kind of retail use. But typically the background traffic is lower than your weekday AM and PM peak hours.
That's it for now. George, you had a question?
Tim?
Would there be any improvements
Oh.
to
Katie, you took the.
Turnpike and
There it is.
Mill Road with the increased traffic?
Say again,
Would there
please.
be any improvements to Turnpike and Mill Road?
We have not proposed any. I think the issue there is that in order to improve the site distance, you would need to take property, which I think no one is really
Yeah.
of the opinion that that's the right answer for that location. One thing, shall I mention the?
Well, let me mention, we spoke with the Assistant DPW Director, Steve Yonley, about this issue, because we looked at this when the Princeton apartments came through on Mill Road. And as part of that project, they proposed a certain amount of monies to create, to put up some signage for some warnings at that corner. And also, the DPW has continued to commit to essentially mow the corner. But when you look at it, when you look at the geometry of the corner, when you look at the grades of the corner, you would have to take a large chunk of property from that homeowner, cut the hill down, put in a retaining wall to be able to gain the proper site distance there. I think the only remedy to that without doing that would be something that Carrie spoke of today, which would be.
Yeah, I mean, one potential solution would be to make that intersection an all-way stop on all three directions. Then, you're basically forcing everyone to stop, which means everyone's starting from sort of the same position, and you're not if you're coming down the hill, having to worry about, can I see the car coming around the curve? And then with that, you would want the appropriate warning signs also to say, there's a stop sign coming up, particularly as that would be a new condition for Mill Road. But that would sort of level the playing field, if you will, for all directions. That would be something that you could potentially do without the taking and the retaining wall and everything that Katie just mentioned.
Okay.
Ed?
I'm all set, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. I was just gonna bring up the letter that was submitted by Mr. Gomes regarding a MIPA review.
So we are actually, we had, when the site walk happened,
Yeah,
Katie
no,
did not,
I can-
we didn't have the traffic study yet, so she
Right.
didn't know what the numbers were.
So the abutters meeting took place between the original planning board hearing for the applicability and the second planning board hearing for applicability. At that time, the triggers are over 1,000 average daily trips and 150 parking spaces together, or 300 or more parking spaces. Originally, we were under that 300 parking space mark, and we didn't know we would be above 1,000. We're at 1,118 trips per day and 326 parking spaces.
So you hit the jackpot.
So we tripped it by 118 trips and 26 parking spaces. So we began filing 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
when the traffic study was issued to us. So it's in process.
The next part is gonna be architecture.
Architecture, yep. And Jim,
Evan?
Just before you leave traffic, just for those who are at home, the dates of the traffic counts?
It was before, I think it was May.
It was mid-June, just before school
Yeah, I
let
was gonna
out,
say it was
to make
before
sure that
school
we
went
had
out.
all of the school
Yep.
trips.
The background projects that you took into account or
The
that you
Princeton
identified?
Properties project, I believe, is the only one.
So you reviewed that traffic study?
Right, and we added in their traffic
their
as background.
projections.
Yep.
And then your potential mitigation, have you had conversations with DPW about your proposal for Golden Cove?
So we didn't propose the lane change yet, so that was something we came up with late. We did talk to Steve Yanley about the potential for retiming those signals, because essentially it's a really long rotation through there. We haven't presented the information yet for the study. He wasn't exactly on board with retiming those because he wants to see as much traffic or as many cars or vehicles come through that Golden Cove, Billricker Road intersection. And essentially the retiming that we had proposed would probably really only alleviate slightly the Turnpike Road traffic, but I think this new plan would definitely be looking to speak with him about that, and see if it's something that we could help make happen.
Well, I travel 129 every day.
Me too.
And in the morning, if that timing is shortened, coming from the center out towards Route 3.
And that was his fear.
It can really back up into the center. Right now, it doesn't. I've seen it as far as Summer Street. And so, I mean, that has to be a consideration with whatever you propose.
Yeah, I think these
Evening,
two things
it's one thing, but
combined.
morning is,
Yeah, these
So-
two things combined could help, but we will be talking to him about that and, seeing what his reaction is.
I'd like you to include the four-way stop too at the other end. I
Okay.
think that's a simple one.
Okay, very good.
Before you get started with the architecture, we're gonna take a 3-minute break to get some water and to stretch our legs, and then we'll be back with the architecture. There will be an opportunity for the public to speak. I see you stand back there, but there will be an opportunity.
He's the architect.
Oh, you're the architect. There'll be an opportunity for you in 3 minutes.
Well, it depends. I'm looking, anyway, it doesn't matter, it's not gonna happen.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, I should.
Yeah. I could whistle.
It's too late for me. I'm projecting that
Whistle
on
into
my
the
children
speakers.
now. They will be the engineers.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we do need Colleen. Hey, where's our computers tonight?
I actually do like for these
I like
plans
them.
blowing up.
I do too.
All right, call meeting back to order.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jim Zegowitz. I'm with the MZO Group, project architects for this development. As you know, the project consists of 168 units in 4 buildings, accompanied by 4 surface garages and a community clubhouse. Before we get into going through the individual buildings, I think it was important to talk about the context, how we arrived and basically why we arrived at the architecture that you see here tonight. In terms of context, on the east side of Turnpike, as you all know, we're in the commercial industrial district. It's not uncommon to see a footprint 50,000 square feet. In fact, I think 2 doors up from us to the north, we're going to find 2 buildings of over 40,000 square feet directly on the road, probably about 2 doors to the south as well. On the west side, I think it's fairly typical. You're not going to see a footprint more than 2,000 square feet. Blocks on end, residential, single-family development. To the east side again, it's not uncommon that you're going to find a 300-foot long, 45-foot tall concrete block wall with no windows and doors except for maybe a bunch of 12 by 12s. To the west side, typical New England architecture, residential architecture, 2 stories tall, pitched roofs, asphalt roof shingles, traditional siding, porticos, door and window sizes. So when we approach the project, we're working with a multifamily model. It's obviously nothing that we're going to be able to create with footprints the size of single-family residential development. What we did is we broke the buildings down into 12-unit typical building blocks. Those 12 units yield a footprint of about 15,000 square feet. If you look at our nearest neighbor to the south on the same side as the development, that's about a 15,000 square foot building. That building is also detailed in traditional residential architectural, pitched roof, windows, siding, the like. So that's what we did. We also incorporated the traditional New England style pitched roofs, typical size and scale for the windows, traditional lap siding and other materials throughout the project. But what we tried to do is break those, what could have been monolithic blocks. I don't think it would have been unreasonable to design the buildings more in keeping with the industrial flavor of the big box buildings that we find behind it. I think a lot of times today, these multifamily projects are being designed along those lines. Tall, square boxes, flat roofs, very economical, no porches, no decks, just get them up and run. What we tried to do is incorporate the architectural flavor of the buildings, the traditional single-family architecture from across the street, bring those into our project and try and break down those 15,000 square foot footprints into something a lot more manageable, something that has a lot more in keeping with a traditional residential scale, proportions, and order by using the same kind of windows, doors, similarly proportioned gables, hip roofs, pitch roofs, siding materials, roof materials. So that's how and basically why we got to where we are. So the first slide you see here is, as it says, is the proposed view. If you're traveling north on Turnpike and look to the east as you approach the project, that is what we're going to call Building 1 that you see on the left. That is a 24-unit building. We'll get to that in a second. And further up the entrance is the community clubhouse that you see there. So the first building that I call Building 1, if you look to the lower portion of the rendering here, you'll see that's the building that faces or fronts on Turnpike Road. A 2-story, 24-unit building. This building had, it's an interesting building. So this one presents two fronts. You have to design this building essentially with two fronts. One is the front of the entire project that faces directly on the Turnpike, and the other is the front that the residents would see every time they come home from work. So it's kind of an interesting architectural design along those lines. Again, the typical floor plan is 12 units per floor. This building has, it's a 2-story walk-up, therefore there's no elevator. The main entrance points to the building are biased hard to the right and hard to the left. And all the units are connected by way of a central double-loaded corridor. Second floor is very similar to the first. There's some different wall undulations. If you look at the facade, the elevations closely, you'll see that there's some areas have garrison overhangs, some don't. We did try and employ some kind of undulation to these elevations so that it was not simply a straight 200-foot long box. I think we were fairly successful, but we'll let you do this.
I have a question.
Shoot.
So, go back to the one where you show your stairs.
Yeah.
You have them on either side. Am I reading, when you say front elevation, the front elevation will be facing Turnpike?
No, I'm sorry. So that was the interesting part about designing this building. Front elevations in all cases, I'm referring to the parking lot side or the residence, what they would
Okay,
depict as the front.
because those are the doors going in.
Yeah.
And if front was towards Turnpike, then people have to walk around the building to get into the
Right,
building,
no.
which would be
But if we move past...
first architecture mistake.
Right, so, to try and warm up the elevation so that they read as somewhat of a front to both the parking lot side and the Turnpike Road side. The buildings were arranged such that they'd be somewhat of a bilaterally symmetrical organization around a main gable to the middle of the building that you see there with the 3-window gang, a much higher gable. And then to either side, we have basically a hip roof form that would sort of punctuate the building on either end. The roof structure on this building, because the building's 70-plus feet wide, the main body of the building is gonna have about a 5-pitch roof. Again, we'll be able to get a reasonable height roof structure using that roof pitch. On the ends, they grow up to a little bit more like a 10-pitch roof, try and punctuate the ends with separate masses and something that's gonna be a lot more visible from up close. You actually see a nice 10-pitch roof. The main body of the building, because it's a 5-pitch, is gonna shoot away from you and disappear very quickly. The ends, you see a little shed on the end. We're anticipating sprinkler rooms and other utility type functions, and that would be one of the locations where we would house some of those functions. So, the back, the Turnpike Road front, very similar to the front without the entry porticos on either side, and the end is essentially a mirror of the other end of the building. Well, one thing that I would note is that if you look at the landscaping plan, given the amount of planting and trees in front of this building, when our renderer was putting together the model, and he sent it back to me with all the trees that are actually shown on the landscaping plan, you couldn't even see the building. So, in that view that you see approaching the entry from the south, we've actually eliminated some of those trees and made most of them almost transparent, so you could actually see the building. There's a large amount of screening being planted there. The next building, building number 2, you can see again there's a diagram of the site plan on the lower part of that image. That's the first building to the back. We're going to proceed with these buildings going around in clockwise fashion. So that's a 48-unit building. I'm sorry, that's the elevation you'll see from the parking. That's what I'm going to call the front elevation when we get there. Again, it's a typical 12-unit floor plan. This building is this and all the other buildings, apartment buildings, are elevator access type buildings. Therefore, we'll have the two entrances on either side like we had in the first building, but we're also incorporating a nice welcoming front main entrance to the building. Setting up when you're, again, on the parking lot side, setting up, again, somewhat of a bilateral symmetrical organization to the building. You go in, you'll see, if you look close at the floor plan, there's an entry vestibule, airlock. Just beyond that, there'll be the machine room and other component parts required for the elevator. You can enter the elevator right there, access all floors, or you can go, like we did on the 24-unit building, you can go in either staircase at the end of the building and up and down. One other thing that we're incorporating in this building is we have a pass-through to the courtyard. So if you come home and there's a function happening at the clubhouse and you want to just go right through the middle of the building, you parked out in front, you just go right through the middle of the building, out the other side, and on your way right over to the clubhouse. The second floor, second, third, and fourth floor, I believe, the second and third floors. It's a very similar floor plan, with the exception of the space over the entry corridor on the first floor. If you look, you can see right in the middle of the building, there's a recess to the building. Again, we're trying to further emphasize the undulations of the building, and that works in concert with the separate gables that we're placing all over the front of the building. Those two are one-bedroom units that swallow up that additional corridor space that was found on the first floor. Those are nice, comfortable, one-bedroom units. The elevations, again, it's sort of a three-part massing scheme where we have the main body of the building, the cap on either end with the hip roofs. On the front facade is, I think the main entry is punctuated by flanking gables and the main entrance portico. Again, in terms of the vertical organization of the building, we create a strong base on the first floor, all stone up to the second floor. And from the second floor to the roof, there's different colors and types, exposures of siding that you can see back on that initial rendering. Let's see. The ends are, again, similar to the 24-unit building, just another two-story stall. In the back, there's no main central gable, just the way the unit's laid out. We have used two gables on that end, on the back, to demark the main body of the building, and the entry or exit out to the courtyard is located right smack in the middle. Again, building 3 and 4 are very similar. The front elevations, the elevations are almost identical to building 2, with the exception of the garage end. And buildings 3 and 4 are located the eastmost buildings, and the garage entrances are on the easterly end of both buildings. So there'll be actually 2 mirrored buildings. The garage entrances are on both of the buildings are well off to the east, closest to the dog park area. These buildings both have a parking garage in the basement. I think there's 38 parking spaces. There's one, the requisite handicap van space is the first, obviously the first parking space that we plan. We've also included another sort of regular parking space. And then all the rest are standard size, full-size parking spaces. There's the elevator access is you can see the elevator access in the middle of the garage there. And we are planning for, again, to have some mechanical space down towards the garage end for sprinklers or anything else that we might need once we get into the actual documentation of the building, find out whether we need pumps or anything else to feed the building.
Just, you said 38 spaces, I see 37. Is there one missing?
No, I'm sorry, I just can't read it. Whatever.
37.
I didn't have that one.
And were you supposed to have bike storage down here?
No, we'll get that. There's
Okay.
there is a space, although we do have bike storage accounted for at the clubhouse, Although there are, if you look closely enough, there's a lot of room around the periphery of the parking spaces where bike storage could be fit, especially
Okay.
at the far end of the building. There's a lot of space down there. Again, it's 12-unit floor plan, very similar to Building 2, actually identical to Building 2. And the upper floors, again, will be identical to Building 2. And the elevations, again, I think it's probably a better representation when we look at the colored drawings, colored rendered elevations. We already went through those. I will say, talk about the garage end. I believe we're gonna have we're gonna raise the lot as high as we can so we get to the end of that building, so that we're not talking about in no way are we talking about a 5-story building. I don't know how I haven't clearly gone through the definition of height in terms of the Chelmsford zoning ordinance, but I know the Master State Building Code, that's no way, shape, or manner a 5-story building. You're actually allowed under the State Building Code to have a lot of the basement exposed to grade before they'll ever think of calling that another story. It's back again and the end again. The surface garages, there are 4 on the site. You can see them lightly shaded on the site diagram. Each one of these garages has 11 individual car spaces. We articulated the middle of the building by raising the roof a little bit, changing the siding under the raised roof, adding a middle gable. It's our intent that the middle parking spaces would be further articulated by some RLM or straight arm lighting, whereas the flanking 3 units on either end will probably have just some very low wattage soffit lighting at the safety purposes. I think the length and width of there, it's about 120 feet long, 22 feet deep. And we use the same siding materials and roofing techniques that we have throughout the project. Lastly, the clubhouse, the amenity clubhouse. That will be basically your welcoming view when you turn up the entryway to the site. The main front door is there in red. Giant portico over there to receive visitors and people who want to come to check out the project. Supported space that includes leasing. The leasing functions are there. The fitness center is there. Yoga studio is there. We have a large gathering space. There's maintenance rooms, break rooms, and all the other support spaces necessary to run that and build it. There's also a huge package. One of the things that we're finding in all our multifamily developments is that there's a huge package room that is necessary. Now that everybody buys everything online, you have to have a huge room with package lockers where all your tenants or all your residents can come in, just check in without there being a staffed office and retrieve their parcels. Without that, you're just asking the office staff to do a ton of it. To the sort of northwest of the clubhouse proper, you'll see the pool area. Final layout of the pool, I think, is yet to be determined. Other amenities to go with, or other parts that go with the building, is we're planning a fireplace pavilion halfway between the clubhouse proper and the large block that you see to the top right. The top right is the bike storage that I think you were asking about earlier. And between the bike storage, along past the fireplace pavilion up to the clubhouse proper, it's our intent to have a 3-quarter wall there that you'll see in elevations here that will act as a screen from the parking. Yet the top 3 or 4 feet will be open to allow sounds and smells and everything else that's happening in the pool area when people are having gatherings out there. And people are pulling up to visit the leasing offices, they'll be able to hear and smell and see what's going on. I think that's it. There's the other elevations of the clubhouse. The lower image is that which you would be faced with if you came and parked on the side of it. And those are those open panels looking into the fireplace. I think that's it.
Monica?
The building 1 on Turnpike, I noticed you were talking about the front elevation, and the front elevation pictured was from the parking lot rather than from Turnpike. So where's your main entrance that opens up to Turnpike to make it a welcoming, inclusive environment where people leave the new sidewalk from Turnpike and then go directly into the building?
Well, the back, so that is the front, you can tell by the two main entrances, so left and right, and that's the back. The back does not have a main entrance into the guts of the building, the back is all residents' homes on the ground. So there isn't a cut through or a main entrance into the corridor from that side of it.
So essentially, you're on a main street, you're part of a neighborhood, but yet the back is all you see. You don't have a welcoming entrance, you have to go all the way around?
Yes.
That doesn't work. If you want to be part of the neighborhood, have a front door. If you have a new sidewalk where you want people to walk up and down and feel like it's part, there should be a front door.
Understood, and I agree. That's what, one of the challenging aspects, one of the most challenging aspects of that building area. You have about, I think it was maybe 60 feet or so to the building from the street. 50 feet. And across which there is a ton of landscaping. And part of that is to provide a little screen from the street, traffic, noise, everything else. And those are all, there are six residents on that side of the building on the ground floor that have their back doors. It's difficult, one of those things is a difficult thing to address. Actually, to that end, one of the things that I was asking when I looked at the landscaping plan is, where's the fence? As a development, I was thinking there might be, as cars are zooming by, and I know exactly what that is, I live 5 feet from the street over in Westford. I appreciated the amount of landscaping that was done between the street and the building, especially when, if I'm one of those residents, I'm gonna wanna come out on that patio and hang out there.
It doesn't seem like it's part of the neighborhood. It doesn't seem like it has access to that sidewalk, and it seems rather inconvenient. Then if you're walking up the sidewalk to go to the bus stop, you have to then go all the way around the building to enter it, so.
Can I ask for clarification, just so we can possibly,
You gotta state your name.
I'm sorry.
Dave Guthrie.
David Guthrie, co-developer, could I ask for clarification, because we were asked to move our sidewalk out to the edge of the road versus in along our road, where it was. And we had considered that entranceway coming out of the building onto that sidewalk, which is internal of our landscape buffer. We were then asked to move our sidewalk out, so you're proposing a loop to that sidewalk to come in from both ends?
No.
The north and the south? And
I'm proposing that instead of all of those units being you're in, you figure out what to do with one of those units and make it a pass-through that goes through, and then you have a walkway that leads from the building to that sidewalk that's on
straight to the berms.
Exactly.
Right. So this is something we looked at doing for the internal buildings, because obviously the internal buildings struggle with the same thing. There's a entrance to the parking lot, a main entrance where people can pull up and park, but we also needed access to the center green so that people could have an alternative or a way to pass through the building. I think we can look at building 2 and basically provide an opening between the units to provide for essentially a second front door to Turnpike Road, which would be located essentially central to the opposite entry to the building that faces the parking lot. Whether or not people use it is fine, but it would be the same and it would match the other units, the other projects.
That's in building 2 or this building?
What's that?
Not organized like that.
It's building 1.
I'm talking
Hold
about the
on,
building
hold on.
on building 1 on Turnpike, not building 2, the front-facing building that everyone sees.
That's the
Okay.
building that we have up here. So this building has, this building has a hallway at either end. It doesn't have the central access of the fourth story, which is what you were saying. But is there any way that we could bring this hallway through to the other side and then have an additional front door on Turnpike Road? That is something that we could look at.
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
I want to discuss her point, because I disagree with your point. Okay? Because 6 apartments going out onto Turnpike. By doing what they're doing, they're forcing everybody into the center of the property. So they're not having 24 apartments going out onto Turnpike. So one, for me, it's a safety factor. You're only allowing 6 apartments out there. Whether you make those sliding doors look like front doors on a couple of units, that's fine with me. but I'd rather have 6 going out towards Turnpike and having 18 go more towards the center of the property, especially if there's children or anyone else that may need to, they can walk around to the sidewalk, they can loop out to the front. But for me, I disagree with your point.
We can disagree, however,
So-
it's a convenience issue and it's an aesthetics issue. We're talking about, again, they're building a sidewalk, we want people to walk instead of pumping out all these additional cars, we want people to go to the bus stop, we want people to access this. Why does everything have to be internally focused? Why can't you have one door which you get buzzed in and out of?
Okay.
That goes on Turnpike.
I guess okay. Any other questions you have? And we'll get to the other.
I'll let everyone else go.
Tim?
I have to agree with you, George. I like the design the way it is. And I think the access I like the access going in that way. It looks good to me. That's all I have.
Ed?
Okay, along Turnpike, it's not clear to me from the little plans. Are those windows or sliding doors or doors of some sort that they can walk out from the living room out onto the lawn?
That's right. Those are sliders. First floor, right. All of these, each one of these little areas, these rectangles you see here, represent a covered deck area.
Okay. All right,
And it's essentially their back door.
okay. Concern, and I know people have to live, but I think this looks like a real nice front from your plans. And we're gonna have lots of landscaping. But I think somehow in the rules and regulations that you develop for this project, if it goes through, you're gonna have to do something to make sure that that area doesn't get jammed up with people's bikes and picnic tables and grills out on the lawn and that kind of stuff. Because on the first floor, there's gonna be an awful temptation, just speaking for myself. I might wanna park a bike back there, or if I had kids, I might wanna leave their little bikes back there or their toys outside. And so that'd change the whole character along the road, so that's just a comment. That's one comment I have on that, and I'll hold everything else, George.
Mike?
You don't suppose you have a picture with the full, of the view from Turnpike with the full landscaping? Do you have one in there?
Fully rendered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not.
I'm just kind of curious to see what that would look like, because it's an interesting discussion we're having here, outward facing or inward facing. And the nature of that landscaping kind of makes a difference there. Other than that, I don't have any particular critiques. I just have one matter of curiosity. If you look at Building 2, in the middle, there's that big gabled roof, and there are 4 windows staring at you. That's got to be an interesting apartment.
It's gonna be, the 2 flanking units there, I think are gonna be great. I had a
So there are 2 units flanking?
Right, so these,
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so 2 windows to each unit.
right, so the first floor, there's the main entrance corridor that heads through.
Right.
And goes right to the
The
elevator.
second- yeah.
Second floor, they swallow that space up to get bigger closets,
And
much.
and the
much
top
big-
floor.
We've stretched the living rooms a little bit, the bedrooms got much bigger. Those are premium one beds.
Yeah, they look kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That was it.
Henry?
I agree with you, George. I know people like to have their own private space to do something if you have, it's gonna be tough being on Turnpike Road. I know in another development here in town, they've had to go around and they've basically said no grills on any of the decks or any of the fire department basically went in and did a pickup.
Yeah.
So for that issue, they are cracking down on that, Ed. You're not allowed to do that the way you used to. And they'd have to regulate themselves. You're gonna have to have some sort of lighting for us eventually, and I know every single one of those decks has to have a light fixture of some sort. We are be looking for something that doesn't do a lot of light pollution, especially when we're right on the main road. I did ask the question last time, somewhere around here, we're gonna have to have the air conditioning units. I know on Chelmsford, I'm not gonna say the name of the development, but on 110, as you drive by, all you see is air conditioners sitting right on the main road.
Yeah, if I could, we have taken that into account so far. Which is one of the nice things about a pitched roof. Well, one of the things about a pitched roof buildings. Either you got to put those condensing units on the ground, and
Yeah.
it just clutters up the place. And
Yeah.
forget about kids leaving their toys out there. You got those things all over the place. These units, we intend to have through walls units, so all the heating and cooling is self-contained in a closet right off the deck.
Yeah.
So if we look closely at the buildings, these grills represent the air exchange required for the condensing units. Those can be bought to match the building, painted to match the building, so they fade as much as possible. That's what we think.
Yeah, it's an improvement over
Nice solution, yeah.
some other, now that you pointed out, I do see it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have it all in one space. I've worked in buildings that I know you gotta walk a mile to find wherever they put it, but.
It's a trade with these kinds of buildings. It's sort of a trade-off between people want to put those on the ground. Sometimes those condensing units will be a little more durable, long-lasting, but the runs for the refrigerant lines are forever.
They're all gonna be heat pumps?
So,
They're all gonna be heat pumps?
not necessarily.
All right. I mean, I'm not against them. I'm just curious. That's it for me for right now.
Nan?
Yeah, I don't have any particular questions. I do have a comment in response to Monica's suggestion of a pass-through. And I'd have to say that if I lived in that building, the last thing I want is the rest of the development traipsing through the center of my building. To me, that doesn't sound like a favorable environment for the people that live on that first floor. So
Can I explain how that works, considering
Yeah.
I've lived in a building that was like this?
What's a pass-through?
The entrance was only for the people that lived in that building. You had your own key, you had your own code. The entire development could not go through that building. Only your guests, only the residents would go in that building. And there was a main entrance that looked just like a pleasant entrance, and there was landscaping around it, and there was a walkway that led from the street to the building. There was also a parking lot in the back. There was an entrance that led to that in the back. It wasn't as beautiful because it wasn't the front. So your entire development is not going through that building. You have your own key, you have your own passcode, you can buzz your own people in, but it was more aesthetically pleasing than a back facing out.
Okay, then I do have a question. Are these buildings expected to be externally secured?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Buzz to get in, buzz
You
to
have
get
to
out.
buzz to
Oh,
get into the
absolutely.
building.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's required by code.
And if we wanted to go shopping or to the bus, we could leave out the front, and if I wanted to go to my car, I could go out of the back.
Okay.
And I don't want to get hung up on this. What I'd like you to do is go back and look at it and see if there's a way that you can put in a door on the front. I'm not going to get hung up on it. I think it's a detail that if you can do it, great. My reservations is, someone's got a couple of kids and they got to go out for the bus stop, they go flying out the door, they're 50 feet from a very busy road. I'd rather have them walk around the building But Monica's got a point. So if you can look at it and come back next meeting, see if you can squeeze one in somewhere along that front. Okay, and then
I can answer the.
I don't want you to answer it now.
Okay.
I want you to go back and look at it. Okay,
I was just gonna
it's
do
almost 9:30. We've been here for 2.5 hours, and we haven't even opened it to the public yet. So Monica's asked you to look at it, come back next meeting. If you can squeeze one in, great. I'm not going to oppose it. You know, I just wanted you to make sure that it's a secure door that kids can't go flying on. I don't know if you can do that, but I know it has to be ADA accessible and that type of thing. So is that acceptable that they go back and look at it and see if they come up with a plan for at least one door in the front of that building?
Yes, one door. That's what
Okay.
I'm asking for. Very pleasant looking.
All right.
Any other questions about the architecture? So I just have one comment. If you go to the parking underneath, which would be slide 9 of 17, you see in the upper right-hand corner, there's a space right up there. Might be a good spot for a bike rack. So, all right. I know people with nice bikes will go and lock them up someplace else. The kids that might be there will just stick them in a bike rack somewhere and
Scratch the cars.
scratch the cars and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. Okay. The applicant, any other questions or any other comments you want to make at this point? At this point, it's open to the public. It's a public hearing, so I'm opening it to the public. They can come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and go to town.
Good evening, Bill Cassidy, 83 Turnpike Road. Public safety is a top concern here for everybody. There's no disagreement there. Currently, the way the traffic is on Turnpike, I can't walk my dogs or collect my mail from the mailbox without the fear of being hit by traffic. What I would suggest to the planning board is signage if this project would move forward, such as no parking tollway zone signs for Turnpike and Warren. The installation of three-way stop signs at the intersections of Turnpike and Warren, in addition to Turnpike and Mill Road, which has been many near misses on Mill Road. The other issue is 168 units. What I didn't see in any traffic report mentioned how many tons of trash is going to be generated each day coming out of the unit. And being trash trucks are going to have access from Turnpike Road, I would like the board to consider using signage that would restrict commercial vehicles Monday through Friday, as an example, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 3 to 6 p.m., because us abutters don't want to hear more buckets being dropped at 4 a.m., which we're hearing now across from the existing businesses. The issue of, I look at the plans, and this is the ideal situation. In New England, we know in the wintertime, we're going to have issues with snow removal. And what I need to find out if the developer is going to provide a defined plan for on-site snow removal, and the board touched on this the last meeting, that if it has to be trucked off, how is the developer going to get the heavy front-end loaders in there? They're going to have to be trailered in, and he's going to have 10 to 18-wheeler trucks. I don't want to see him park on Turnpike Road trying to get into this development for snow removal. The other thing concerns the construction. Now, what I haven't seen on any of the plans here is that the developer needs to provide a defined plan for on-site construction staging to include space for all construction and contractors' vehicles, delivery, vehicle parking, construction material, heavy equipment moving. And I don't want to see them backed up onto Turnpike Road, because yesterday and last week I noticed at 270 Mill Road, the contractor's taken up half the road. He unloaded heavy construction material, equipment there, and was impacting traffic. I don't want to see that happen on Mill Road. The question I have for the board is that will the developer agree to have an on-site permanent property manager's office to address any and all concern concerning traffic safety on 104 Turnpike Road? And finally, because the abutters have been promised concessions before, all the above that I mentioned needs to be recorded, signed, dated, and registered at the Registry of Deeds should this project move forward. Thank you.
So, Katie, you want to address, or maybe Dave, you address, or the attorney, address snow removal procedures and how you do that, whether you leave a front-end loader on site, and then you have trucks come in, and what hours you typically do that, or would do that.
Certainly, I mean, with help from Dave and Chris, the snow removal areas will be added to the plan upon our first revision, so we'll specify certain areas where snow piling can happen on site for some of the smaller events, and then larger storm events will be taken care of as needed. And would you leave a piece of equipment there, or would you have them brought on site?
Yeah, we'd most likely leave a piece of equipment there. That's a front-end loader is underutilized.
Sorry.
Good.
Typically, the front-end loader is underutilized during winter conditions for construction purposes, so we would leave one on site there and load out as needed.
And when you do these loading, what would you normally do it?
They're typically preferable during the day,
Okay.
when most of the cars that are parked there are gone.
So you would not have a problem with the condition that any snow removal will be done between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. or something like that?
Correct.
So it's not done in the middle of the night?
Yes, correct. That'd be fine.
You got that?
I wouldn't recommend that. Snow removal under zoning is an exempt use for hours of operation, it's public safety. And again, remember, anytime we put a condition in a decision, neighborhood's gonna expect that it's enforced. So, snow removal, if it needs to be removed in the middle of the night, are we gonna send somebody out to enforce it?
The only thing I could suggest is we are going to be equally as sensitive to our residents as the residents in the area. However, I think the point taken there is if you are in an emergency or a blizzard situation and you do have to remove to maintain public safety, it would be difficult to have that overnight limit.
All right. So maybe we can word something that's not restrictive, but is suggested that they do it with
Yeah,
taking consideration
Have them
of the...
submit something, their proposal,
Okay.
board will review it.
Okay. And then, next question, Mr. Cassidy had, I believe, was construction, staging, and scheduling. What he's concerned about, I think, is on-road unloading of vehicles and that type of thing.
Right.
So I know initially to get into the site, you'll have to do that, but after
Certainly to
that-
get into the site, but after that, we'll have plenty of area to move within the site. I think that the issue with Mill Road is that there's not a flat area right off the edge of the road that you could put the equipment on site, so.
So then, if you can provide
You can require, have them submit a construction staging and phasing.
Yeah, you know, basically
page or
which
two.
buildings and
Well,
then,
that's something we would typically have to provide for our NIPD's application, so if it would be as part of the building permit process, we
Okay.
usually talk to contractors when we do that.
okay. And then, lastly, I think I can answer the question, part of the question anyway, was the manager's office. In the clubhouse, there's room for a manager's office. I don't know if they'll have someone on site, you
There'll
know,
be someone on
during
site.
normal hours. They might be able to answer that
Yeah, I
question.
can speak to that. We hired a national firm to manage the third-party management group. They'll be on site full-time.
Okay. Anyone else from the public?
Okay, Pierre de Villiers, 69 Turnpike Road. Firstly, I was actually very impressed to find the agenda and associated links on your website, so I hope you don't go and change that MO.
Well, we're gonna be discussing it because I don't appreciate getting letters like I got.
I understand. Okay, firstly, contrary to Donald Van Dyne's letter that you read, from what I have read, the local benefit from high-density developments is minimal. And in fact, it's only the local retailers who may benefit, and then only if they are easily accessible by foot, or public transport. As I said at the last meeting, I believe the real issue is the doubling of the number of houses on Turnpike, which this project will do, which effectively doubles the number of human feet on the road, irrespective of the increased traffic. However, I do have a few questions regarding the traffic report. Firstly, it states that loading, move-in, move-out activity, service, and trash recycling activity will occur on site and will not have any impact on Turnpike Road. Are they planning to airlift these facilities into the site? Because I do not understand how that is not going to impact Turnpike Road. It also says there will be a sidewalk along Turnpike Road, but I believe that sidewalk is only along the frontage of the project site. And the LRTA route expansion, from an earlier discussion about the Building 1, I got the impression that a bus stop is now a given.
It is not a given.
Okay, because you were talking about getting onto the bus, getting off the bus, going to the bus stop. Anyway, okay, good, because that was not included in the traffic report. And I'm glad to see that the report says they're encouraging modes of transportation other than cars, but I'm not sure how this is going to happen on Turnpike Road, which in places doesn't have a sidewalk, and in places doesn't even have a shoulder. And this is a road where, according to the report, most cars are traveling at 40 miles an hour, and you want to encourage people to walk along it. It's only suckers like me that do that. It also said approximately it's 1 mile from the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, which is great, but the only way you can get to that Bruce Freeman Rail Trail in a mile is by walking down Turnpike Road and then down Golden Cove, once again risking your life. Now, the Town of Chelmsford Complete Street Prioritization Plan that is mentioned in the report says sidewalks on Turnpike Road are ranked 30th, which is great, at an approximate cost of $948,000 and will take 4 months to complete. Well, I eventually found this plan, apparently created with the help of Howard Stein Hudson, and the projected start date for this work is July 2023. So hopefully somebody is going to move up the sidewalk if you are going to put this building in place. Based on the traffic data that was reported, it stated that there will be minimal impact to traffic operations. But by my calculations, there's a 30 to 35% increase in traffic on Turnpike Road, both during the day and during the high volume periods in the morning and the afternoon. I do not see how 30% is a minimal impact. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Katie, you want to address quickly? I think I caught some of them, and I think there's one you can probably quickly address. Trash pickup, how often will that occur? Do you expect it to occur?
We're not sure yet how often it's, but we did submit the plan to Nick Parley, who's in charge of your trash and recycling, and we prepared a plan. The plan shows more storage on site than is actually required by the town of Chelmsford, and he also approved the locations of the dumpsters and the recycling on the site.
Maybe you can circle back with him and get a guesstimate from him. He may have
How
those
often?
numbers.
Yep. And again, certainly we'd want to be, we also have 168 residents who will be living here that we would want to be sensitive to too. So we would be looking to do that.
I understand.
The most respectful hours.
Okay.
Did you want me to address any of the traffic comments?
Okay. Quickly.
Okay, question mark. Yes, so as far as the complete streets plan, the question about the sidewalk, so the schedule that was in that plan is based on the town is eligible for $400,000 per year from Mass DOT. So timing out the list of projects, that's how we got to the date. But obviously, if more money becomes available or the town decides to do that themselves, that could be moved up. He asked about the 30 to 35% increase and how that's considered minimal. The reason we say that's minimal is because the road is designed to handle significantly more traffic than is out there now. You can process that in 2 lanes. The constraints are the intersections on either end, so.
I just wanted to add a couple comments for the board. at a minimum, a bus stop needs to be accommodated for children. So the applicant needs to speak with the school department as to whether that's going to be internal to the site or on Turnpike Road. I don't know what the school department's busing policies are. If it's internal or along Turnpike, the project needs to accommodate some sort of shelter and bus maneuvering ability.
Okay.
Sidewalks, you heard about complete streets. You heard that the project's proposing sidewalks along its frontage. You're also aware that this project will be required to pay the 53G $100 per parking spot. And then you're aware that this board administers your Route 129 53G account. So similar to other projects, there may be an opportunity between the developer's 53G contribution and whatever the board has in its Route 129 fund to expand the proposed sidewalks that are being proposed as part of this project.
Okay.
The LRTA, I'm not suggesting that the board needs to take ownership of that issue. Certainly the board doesn't have any authority to require the LRTA to extend a bus stop or extend a route. That's something that the town, in coordination with the planning board, would have to undertake. So it's not necessarily an issue that's decided by this project.
I'm on it.
Excellent.
Okay. That's all I'll say at this point. I'm on it. Okay? So, how's that? How's that for an answer on that one? Did you expect anything less from me?
Then we'll plan for an LRTA bus stop on
No,
Turnpike
I didn't
Road.
say that.
I was just,
LRTA bus route
Okay.
will be extended along Turnpike Road.
So,
I was going to speak to something similar to Evan. We're building 300 plus linear feet of sidewalk along the project site. We're building in the crosswalk with handicap access, the pedestrian actuated blinkers at that location, and we'll also be providing for the 53G account $32,600 based on the $100 per parking space on site, which again would build over 400 additional linear feet of sidewalk if it were to be used in that manner.
okay. Next.
I'm Michael Cooney from Stonegate Road. I also have issues about Turnpike Road. I run, bike, and walk on it every day. I bike to work every day down Turnpike Road. A bus and a car and a bicycle cannot fit on that road together. Cars go by me, push me on the shoulder. There's no shoulder there. There's not enough room. The road needs to be widened. If you want to put an LTA bus down there, I can't see a bus, a car, and a pedestrian fitting through. I've seen this man here walking his dogs in the morning. It's very difficult for me to get by him with regular cars going by there. I love my neighborhood. I moved here to be in a neighborhood. I see this being a negative impact with traffic. The traffic study, I think it's flawed. June 20th, high school seniors are already out of school. They have their cars. Those are the kids who are flying down the road to get to school. And it's also during finals times. So they have the alternate schedule. June 20th is not a good date to hold the traffic study. It should be done in the middle of the school year when kids are in school full time, even in the winter time. I'd like to ask the board too, what do you consider enough units on 1 acre in that spot? I've heard Chris Bowman say 4 to 6. I've heard Mr. Belansky at a meeting say there's no number as much as you want to ask for. Is there a number of how many can be put there?
First, the housing production plan is not part of our bylaw. It's a guide. That's all it is for us. Secondly, is if you look under RM zoning, there's a notation that basically 1 unit for every 5,000 square feet in some instances. So there is some guidance there. So I mean that's 8 per acre, but and then you can tack on the density bonus, but there's nothing that's etched in stone. So
My question, how many is too many?
So
It's a lot of units.
I understand.
It's Kensington Estates plus, but it's not on 110. This is on Turnpike Road. Again, it's a residential road. If I wanted to live on 110, I would have probably put a bigger house down there than living on Turnpike Road. I hope I didn't choose the wrong road to live in and the wrong town to live in. I love Chelmsford. I came here with my wife, and we raised 2 children here, and we love to live here, but I feel like this is too big of a project for this area of town.
Okay.
I also want to ask the builders, they only notified people within 300 feet. That's the minimum required.
Mhm.
We're just a little bit beyond that. There was no extension of a neighborhood. This is going to impact entire Turnpike Road. They could have gone out of the way and said, okay, here's the olive branch. Let's invite everyone on Turnpike Road to come down. Let's show them what we want to do. They didn't. They went with the minimum. But now they're asking for a maximum amount of units. I think that's just to get profit. I see just profit, profit, profit here. I want to see the inside of the business being developed. But there's no money there right now. Once the residential wants to go on, I think the builders will go inside then and start working into infrastructure, which is what we all hope to do when we had the meeting last year. We want to build businesses inside and amenities inside the unit, as opposed to right now residential housing. I think it's just a profit-making thing for the developers. A smaller development can be moved here. That would be very nice. 2 stories high, streetscape is part of the intent. I think you can do that. 50 units, look really nice, small, comfortable, a lot of room, a lot of green space. That's my hope for the future of Stonegate Road. Thank you for your time.
Next.
Richard Freitas, 11 Muriel Road, Precinct 4 representative. Previous speakers have already addressed some of my concerns. I just want to give you, I'm trying to keep this short because it's been a lot of time spent already. Since March of 16, I presented myself to the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee, and I returned in May of this year because I have very much concern with the dangerous conditions on Turnpike Road. This is a bigger issue than a development. I just think that it's very important. Anybody who's been on Turnpike Road has had cars approaching each way. In the summertime, from the other buildings, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic and bicycle traffic already. And anybody who goes down that road has probably experienced what I have. When people are walking too wide, or they're on bicycles too wide, you have to stop on Turnpike Road because you have another car is coming the other way, which is very dangerous. I know that at one time it was proposed that the shoulders be pushed back, and also there's no bicycle lanes. The road is very narrow. It's 1.5 miles, a straight road. Anybody who travels on that road tries to do the posted speed limit. It is impossible. People are flying low. And then when you get to the very dangerous intersection, I have had close calls. My wife has had close calls. I know there's 11 reported incidents. It's got to be so many incidents that aren't reported. I mean, it's just extreme. To add more pedestrians or bicyclists, I know they have talked about putting in a crosswalk. That's fine there. But anybody who attempts to walk down that road, it is putting their life in danger. It's just too narrow. It's a beautiful street, and there's a beautiful park on the end of Billerica. I've been there almost 33 years. This Memorial Day, I wanted to visit it, so I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, parked my car off to the side of the road, because where the credit union is, they were repaving or putting a oil base on it or whatever they were doing. So I walked down to that park, and there's a memorial there, which I don't know how many people in town know, that a World War II veteran, it's called the John Gallagher Park, and there's also a memorial there for a Vietnam veteran, Ralph Lefebvre, I believe. But I think we could make Turnpike Road a showpiece in town, and I'm hoping that you consider reaching out to the other departments in town, the bicycle committee, and other departments. I know the lieutenant governor is going to show up here on Friday morning, and talking about complete streets, they're going to receive grant money. So, like I said, I'm appealing to the planning board to see what they can do to stop the dangerous conditions on that road. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Smith, 116 Turnpike Road. I think I'm going to repeat a few things, but I want to reiterate the points. I can be really quick,
Just
though.
really quick.
Just
Yeah,
really quick.
I mean-
I really don't have a whole lot to
Okay, that's
just
fine.
kind of get out there. And some of them were just stated for the first time, so I'm
Okay.
going to try and be brief.
Go right ahead.
So firstly, I just wanted to say that I'm also concerned about the size of the property. I don't think that it fits in with the scale. I know a lot of people have said that, so I'll move on from that. Also, I think that the traffic study, again, does not portray an accurate representation of the traffic. I agree with the fact that the last week of school, June 20th, is not the max traffic. Seniors are out of school. People start vacations early, especially for elementary school people that are not going to be as impacted by missing school. I also agree with the bicycle. The comments about the bicycle safety. And there's been a lot of discussion about how you can get to the trail. A lot of that is through some areas that aren't really safe for bicycles. And we've talked about the traffic coming from the center of town, and that wall of traffic. You can't go into that wall of traffic in order to make bicycle passage safe. So I think that that's going to back up traffic going towards the center of town, because you have to stop for a bicycle because it's in your way. That's going towards the trail. Also, there was a lot of discussion about how biking is going to decrease the traffic, not in the winter, I don't think. So that's a significant portion of the time of the year. So that's great in the summer, but not necessarily in the winter. And then also reiterating the fact that the sidewalk is not going to go the full length of the street. So, once you hit the development going towards Mill Road, there's going to be no sidewalk. So that's going to have increased traffic, but no increased safety for walkers. So I just think that the size of the project, the area in general, the quality is going to decrease for the people that currently live there. So
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
I'm Glenn Davison, 116 Turnpike Road. I'm on the Chelmsford Recycling Committee. I also run the Chelmsford Townwide Cleanup. And I am going to reiterate that we feel that there's too many units, that the buildings are going to be too tall. Those buildings would overlook the school, which would be looking right into our units. We have some people who just moved in. They see trees there now. They would not expect to have a skyline of apartment units instead of a skyline of trees. Being on the townwide cleanup, I also believe that that would double the amount of trash that I would pick up. Right now, I am one of the crazy people that walk down Turnpike Road in order to pick up trash. Yes, I'm jeopardizing my life, but I feel like having a clean town is important to me. So I do that in order to help our town stay clean. And the sidewalk, there's no sidewalk in front of my unit. And in picking up trash, I know that there's no sidewalk in the business that is on the other side of where the units would be built. So if they build a sidewalk in front of the apartments that they do, that would really be the end of it. It would not continue, yes, down Warren, but not on Turnpike Road. I really don't expect the easements will happen. If they did, that would probably mean that people would be driving and commuting right behind some of the units that we live in, so going right behind their backyard. And me, myself, I was tailgated today by somebody on Turnpike Road who felt I wasn't going fast enough at 35 miles an hour. They wanted to go 40, 45 miles an hour. And I feel like Turnpike Road is really treated as a drag strip. If you are there about 11 o'clock at night, Turnpike Road is a straight shot. People decide that they can wind their motorcycles to the fastest speed. Yes, they were using average speeds, but sometimes at night we hear that regularly from traffic that's going much, much too fast. That's a problem with the road itself, and adding more people to that road is going to make that problem even worse. I have counted how many people are on Golden Cove Road. So Turnpike Road goes straight. It's almost straight onto to Golden Cove Road, and I've counted 50 cars waiting in line to turn at that corner. So that signal timing is very important. But I think that if we add more units, double the number of people, that backup could extend all the way to 495 with it right now. I talked to one of my neighbors, and what she said is that she's currently in China, and I'm quoting her, she won't be able to join the town hall meeting tomorrow, but she's in total agreement with me that we don't need a skyscraper in our backyard. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public? No, sorry, why don't you go? I'll let him go first. Yeah, we've allotted an hour for your letter, so let this gentleman go.
Ray Gaddy, 175 Turnpike Road. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. I lived on Turnpike Road a long time, 40 years. I have seen a lot of development. I do have a number of concerns. I don't know whether these questions can be asked now, but maybe, Mr. Chairman, you can get folks to come up. How many total people are estimated to live in this development? We've talked about traffic, but I'm just wondering about people. That's one thing. I don't quite understand the affordable housing provisions. I read some documents. There's Article 23, Section 195-138. Do they apply in this particular case?
Yes.
Yes?
Evan? They have an affordability component
25% of the units are required to be affordable.
Meaning low-income housing? Is that
No.
50% AMI.
I'm sorry, 50% affordable housing?
AMI stands for area medium income.
Area medium income is over $80,000. I want to say it's 82. So 50% of that's $41,000.
Okay, and where did the 25% come from?
25% is the number of units that would be considered affordable.
That's in the inclusionary housing bylaw.
Okay, thank you. I guess one of the things I was wondering about, I saw the plans, I think the latest plans are dated August, and there's a sheet that describes the requirements, the dimensional requirements. There's the required on the left, and there's a proposed on the right, and there are some special permit, there's some, I guess you folks would have to issue that, but are those requirements, have they been vetted?
Yes, to some degree, that through the review of community development and through engineering.
Okay,
But
because
they'll be discussed here too.
Okay, because I heard some conflict in Bowman's letter. Okay. Is there a link to the traffic study? You don't have to put it on.
There is a link now.
Okay.
If you go to the website, Planning Board agenda, it is on the agenda that was posted.
Okay.
If you can't get it,
There's a
call a
copy right there.
call a community development office, and they can email the link to you.
Okay. Excellent. Now, I guess the traffic study, I think, I have to agree with everyone here. Turnpike Road is a fast road. It's straight, it's narrow. The name Turnpike elicits speed. That's an issue. I'm a walker, I'm a biker. And that's a problem. I heard that most cars go 38, 40 miles per hour. Yet I heard discussion about, oh, there's enough sight vision that cars could go 45 miles per hour. That's not comforting for me. So with more and increased traffic, like what I heard was 30%, 33%, that makes it more dangerous for the neighborhood. This development is the densest we have ever seen on Turnpike. It is rental housing. They are packing them in. And it's a real precedent. It's a direct conflict to the single-family homes. It is too many units. I prefer something where a much smaller number of units. I personally prefer owned units, like we did with Stonegate a number of years ago. So those are my concerns, and if you could find out the number of people living there, that'd be great. Thank you.
I don't know if we can answer the total number of people, but we can answer the total number of bedrooms. Because we don't know if there's one person in a bedroom or two people, like a married couple, or in a one-bedroom unit. But we can answer the number of bedroom units.
Right, there are 268 beds. There's
Okay.
102 bedrooms and 68 one-bedrooms.
Did you get that?
35 of the units are affordable.
Okay.
Good evening. Chris Bowman, 3 Julio Street, Precinct 4 representative. First, I would like to apologize to the board. It was my misconception that the board had already had the traffic study at the last meeting. That's what I believed I heard, so I want to apologize since it was pointed out that that was incorrect.
We got it at the meeting, so we didn't have a chance to review it.
Like I said, that's why I am apologizing, because it was my misconception. And first, I would like to ask if you have any questions on the letter that was read or any attachments that went with it.
Well, since you brought up the letter to the board, I think I would like to submit the letter to town council for a full review of the letter. She has cited sections 195, Mass General Law, sections 40A, section 6 and section 9, as well as several different aspects of our bylaw. So I would like it to be submitted to town council for full review and come back to this board with his interpretation of the letter.
I think that makes excellent, good sense. If for no other reason than to put this stuff to bed.
I don't want to discuss your letter. I want it to go to town council, and the board agrees with my interpretation. So I'd like it to go to town council for full review and a report from town council.
Yeah, I was just asking if you had questions. I don't plan to discuss it. And I thank you for reading it, for taking the time to do so. I really appreciate that. And also, I want to say that I do appreciate the effort for the planning board to include relevant documents in the planning board agenda. Now, I did look for the agenda on Monday because that's generally when the planning board meeting agenda is available. And typically, the documents are there. Because the traffic study was not there, I figured the traffic study would not be discussed at this particular meeting. Something came up or something else was more important. The only reason I checked to see if there was a change in the agenda yesterday was because the site walk for 200 Turnpike Road was canceled for the last meeting. So I just happened to check. And it was canceled. And then I saw the traffic study, which would then tell me that you do intend to discuss the traffic study.
We did.
And 48 hours is a small window to start with to review these documents because it is jam-packed.
So if you were listening at last meeting,
Yes.
that the document was available, you could have easily called the community development office the day after, and they would have sent you a link to that document.
Well, I'm sorry, I must have missed that. And
It's in the
again, I
public notice-
apologize.
It's in the public notice that all documents are available to community development office related to this project. So in the past, we have not put links on our agendas. We basically general statement, and we have worked very hard to be very transparent by putting these links on the agenda. It is a new process for us. And I'll tell you, I was chairman too, the first year that this went live on TV. And I supported it and I pushed for it so that people at home that couldn't make it to this meeting. So this board has worked very hard at being very transparent, okay? And what I took from your email was saying we weren't transparent. Well, the office was short-staffed last week, okay? They worked very, very hard to do their job, okay? And they get as much as they can online as soon as they can.
I'm sorry you took it that way, George. My issue was on the timing. Because I have a job to do here too. And I'm trying to do the best job that I can for the
And this
people I
board
represent.
is doing the same thing, and we're
No,
doing it as volunteers, and I've been doing it for 13 years. Mike's been doing it for over 6, close to 9, same with Nan, same with Henry, same with Ed, and Monica's in first or second term. So,
Yes,
so
I
we are
understand
volunteers
that.
too, and we have to read the traffic reports, we have to read every document too.
I understand that. And I do read the documents and go through them as the best as I can. So one thing I would like to bring up is the gentleman who went over the architecturals had stated that in no way was there any intention for a 5-story building. However, on the August 18th, 2017 site plan sheet 1, it says 1 2-story building, 2 4-story buildings, 1 5-story. So I double-checked it more than once because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It does say a 5-story building at a height of 63 feet 2 inches. So I can only, and there was no architecturals for it, so I can only assume that that is what they intended to do. I had no other information on that. Okay, that was the main issue on the architecturals. On the traffic study itself, from what little I was able to read, I do have some issues with the traffic study, primarily with the project assumes that there will be 86 cars leaving the development onto Turnpike Road and then splitting off. Well, at 168 units, half is 84, plus 2 makes 86. So I'm sure, given the demographics of most of America, there's going to be more than half the populace that are going to be leaving to go to work in the morning. Many units are going to have 2 people within the family that are working. So it seems to me a more appropriate, minimal
You know
number would be
You know the
2/3.
number is at the peak hour. 1 hour. It's 1
Well,
hour.
they gave,
1 hour at the peak time AM is 86, and 1 hour peak time in the afternoon was 104.
yes, it was.
So that's 1 hour's worth of traffic. So that means, let's say the peak hour is 7 to 8.
8 to 9, actually.
8 to 9. So at 7, there could be 40 more at 7, and there could be 40 more after 9. or there could be 40 between 6 and 7, and 40 between 7 and 8, and 8 to 9 would be the 86. So you can break it up as how you want, but they're taking 1 hour peak time. So that's 50% of the units.
Well, like I said, I only had a little bit to look at.
Okay.
But I did want to bring to your attention that the number of vehicles that go through the intersection of Billerica Road, Golden Cove, and Turnpike Road are 1,789 using the project's numbers. So that is quite a large amount. And right now, from the numbers, there are 646 that go through Turnpike and Mill Road intersection at the peak morning timeframe. In addition to that, the project characterizes Billerica Road the same as Turnpike Road, Golden Cove Road, and Mill Road. They're totally different. The way they function, what is used, who live there, who travel there every day. So I would like to see a change in that, or at least have the project address that. And it's not clear to me, again, because I haven't been able to go through the study, whether or not the project included within their numbers for the future, the project road on Mill Road. I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
You took the study up to 2024, is that correct? 2024.
the project on Mill Road.
That includes the project?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And I thank you for your time.
Anyone else from the public? Anyone else from the public? Okay, so what I heard tonight is basically three major issues. One is density and one is traffic. So on the traffic, I think probably best to send out the traffic report for peer review. Evan, you want to comment on that, or?
Certainly an option.
I think that's the only way we're going to get that verified.
If you're looking for verification of the
methodology and the counts,
then a
and
peer review would do that, yes.
So, any thoughts on that from the board?
Well, I think peer review is a good idea on the traffic report.
Right.
But I also think that there are questions about the traffic and the management of the traffic on Turnpike Road that are rather independent of the traffic report itself. I mean, it's got some degree of problems already without any other traffic at all. And I think we need, if we can get a better understanding of sidewalk plans, widening plans, if any, things like that.
So Christina can circle back with Steve.
Yeah,
and certainly the
I think that would
applicant,
make a
and
lot of
provide you a
sense.
better update next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my understanding is that conversation should include the 53G money
Yes,
that this
should,
project
right.
would contribute, plus whatever the town has, the board has available to it, and what DPW would propose in conjunction with the developer.
Yeah.
The other piece of peer review can do is review their proposed mitigation, speak with town departments, and see if there's something else that can be coordinated.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think the multiple stop signs is a good start. So, but I
All right,
think.
so what I would need from the board is permission to work with the applicant to proceed with getting a peer review consultant on board as quickly as possible. I will prepare a boilerplate RFP, which we've used for Mill Road 40B, very
Okay.
similar in nature. Send it out to probably 3 firms, make sure that there's no conflicts with the applicant, and get them on board as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Nan, you okay with that? I'll come back to you. Henry?
Right.
Mike? I'm okay. Ed?
Is peer review going to address June 20th, the day of the study?
It will look at everything within their
What they
traffic
studied.
report.
Okay. People are correct. I live a few feet from North Road. June 20th, traffic's already gone down about 20% because of schools, maybe 30%. So we should have a study done during the school year. I'm okay with peer review. I'm just bringing up the date again.
So,
Because by June 20th, the schools are already, and they're a huge component of our surface traffic in the morning and afternoon.
okay, I'll circle back to that. Are you okay with peer review?
Okay with it.
Monica?
I'm okay with it. If people have issues with June 20th, then you need another.
I have a thought. Just hang
Okay.
with me on that.
Yeah. This is the most comprehensive traffic study that I've seen before us. So I'm really wondering what a peer review is going to bring to it.
What?
But I'm not opposed to it.
So,
The other thing is that if there's a feeling that June 20th was a low date for traffic,
can I circle back to that? Because it's getting really late. Maybe we can see if NEMCOG has studies, traffic count studies on Turnpike, Billerica Road, Golden Cove, when they did it last.
There's also an opportunity for the peer review consultant and the traffic consultant to come to some sort of agreement that they can present to the planning board.
It may be possible simply to compensate for that.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Nan.
yeah, my point about if this was a low day is that if traffic on a typical high day is significantly higher, this development is going to have less of a contribution to the traffic, not more of a contribution.
You've reviewed a traffic study once or twice before.
Well,
It's math.
I deal with
I
statistics.
think we're all in agreement, peer review on the traffic study. So that will help verify the traffic study from an outside
Yeah.
independent person, okay? So that's one. Secondly, we heard tonight was density. Well, you heard it from me earlier, but you heard it from the number of people in the audience. So I'd like you to look at that and come back and see if there's any way that you can do anything with the density. The other thing that, because it's late and I'm getting tired now, is go over, at the next meeting, I want you to go over the heights of the buildings and the number of stories and your justification of the number of stories, okay? And
Would like to too, if before we address density, we'd like to explain to the board how we got to this density and
Okay.
explain to the board why we fit within the bylaw.
okay?
Okay.
So
At the next meeting,
I'd like you to have a
certainly.
slide
Okay.
Yep,
and explain it,
absolutely.
Beautiful.
okay?
Excellent.
And then, what else outstanding? Drainage we did.
Site
Well,
walk? Did you want to have a site walk still?
The other thing is, once you get into the height, we'll go over one more time of where you got the setbacks, okay? Because that was brought up tonight, okay? And do we want to do a site walk?
I've been up, looked at it already.
If we do it, I'd rather do a Saturday morning than a evening because it's getting dark early now.
I agree with the Saturday.
Well, yeah, if, that's fine. If it's Saturday, I won't do it. I'll just go on my own. That's fine. with me.
Yeah, well, that's,
I understand some people work out of town. It's just difficult for me on Saturdays and Sundays, so, Saturdays, all good for you guys?
yeah,
Saturday
Saturday.
good for you? Pick a Saturday. Pick a Saturday.
You guys pick a Saturday. Donya, we'll be there.
Okay, week after next, what's that?
I'm out of town.
Yeah, I
Oh.
won't be there either.
That's
Why don't we pick a
that's
weeknight?
Columbus Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we do this
when's our ne-
Saturday or?
When's our next meeting?
October 11th,
And what's, we got,
14th,
That's 2 weeks.
Saturday the 14th,
that's after the next meeting.
correct?
At town meeting too the next week.
Yeah, we got 3 meetings that week.
Oh, man.
So why don't you
Actually,
do,
I got 4. I have
this-
4 meetings that
do
week.
this
And make
Saturday.
it an evening.
This Saturday?
This Saturday, get it.
14th, I'm tied up.
How about
Be
this
nice this
Saturday?
Saturday.
I can do this Saturday.
This Saturday?
I can do
This
this
Saturday?
Saturday.
This Saturday? This Saturday? This Saturday?
Saturday, what time would you like to be there?
What time?
Let it warm up.
10. 10?
10?
Everybody come
Henry's
with their
up at
cup of
5.
coffee?
Absolutely.
He's up at 5.
He'll be
I
having
am too.
lunch by then. Yeah, that's fine by me. 10's good.
10.
10 a.m. We'll see
What do you
all
want him to
then.
do? Mark out the buildings? Do you want?
Oh, we're not going to be able to do that before Saturday.
No.
It's
I
Thursday.
think
So- We won't see what
I
the
can
trees
explain.
cover.
I can explain to you where everything is on the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Just
That's
walk.
fine.
I don't think we
Okay.
need everything to the foot.
Okay.
You don't want a balloon?
But I do want to walk and back if we can get to the back and see the wetlands.
Okay.
right.
Saturday, sidewalk.
Saturday at
They'll
10
be there.
o'clock.
I won't be. Take notes.
Be there or be
And
square.
you're welcome to come by the office and grab me, and we can walk on our own someday.
I'll go along myself.
You can go by yourself.
Would you like,
I don't want to be walking in the woods with you. People
I'll
might be
see you,
talking.
and I'll run out
would
and
you
grab
like a
you.
motion to continue by any chance?
Out my back door.
We do?
Yeah, no, they're talking about this project. So,
Oh,
what else?
okay.
Anything else outstanding?
No.
Anything else? Anything else? I will entertain a motion to continue to October 11th.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mike to continue to October 11th. Monica beat you. Monica second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you
See
very
you
much.
October 11th, same place, same time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Next item on the agenda is 200 Turnpike.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Okay, got a letter. Chelmsford Planning Board, 200 Turnpike Road. Dear members, this firm has been consulted and retained by All Star Management LLC, the current owner of the above referenced project commonly known. The number is 200 Turnpike Road, Chelmsford, Mass. Property. Iliopolis acting on behalf of All Star Management LLC hereby informs the planning board that the applicant is withdrawing the application without prejudice. Thank you for your efforts as it relates to this property. If you have any questions or concerns on the above, please don't hesitate. Call my office, Philip Iliopolis.
I'll entertain a motion to withdraw 200 Turnpike, Planning Board 2017-09
So moved.
without prejudice. Have a motion by
Second.
Ed, second by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
A second. Second by
Aye.
Ed. All those in favor?
For the door.
Aye. Ay, ay, ay.